Big Willie's presenting our show today and every day. Tonight is trivia night at Big Willie's. Hopefully you enjoyed the bingo that happened last night. If not, get out there, go to Big Willie's, tell them that OC sent you. They'll enter your name in a raffle for 2 Utah Mammoth tickets, 8th row tickets at the Delta Center when Utah takes on the Detroit Red Wings on February 4th. As I understand it, this time the entries are fewer and further between than the first time we ran this contest, so a higher percentage likelihood of you getting the actual win and being able to attend that Mammoth game. Craft food menu, incredible drink specials every single day, and of course, if you're not into the alcohol, no problem. Just go enjoy the food, watch the games, and have a sody pop or something like that. James Peterson producing behind the glass today. Adrian Denny set to join us. Jeff Schwartz set to join us. And lots to get into in the world of sports. As the college football calendar and news winds down for the most part, Utah is settling into a relative quiet. We talked about the fact that they've hired a new general manager. We won't know what his work looks like really for, months and months and months, potentially not until next transfer cycle, which is kind of interesting. And he's a guy who's been an offensive assistant. He's been, I think his title at USC, as we discussed, was some kind of offensive strategy consultant. But the roster is pretty much what the roster is going to be. When we had Morgan Scalley on, and you can listen to that interview on demand at ESPN700sports.com or in the on-demand section of our ESPN 700 app. When we talked with Morgan about it, he said, yeah, we're a player or two away from having this roster fully filled out. And my understanding is it's not hyper likely because of the availability of players and who's not in the transfer portal versus who is in the transfer portal. You're probably going to get, at best, role players at this point to fill out those final couple of spots. So Utah is settling into an appropriate quiet on the football front right now. Plenty of discussion to be had with basketball. Got to pile up some Big 12 victories. It's not going to be a tournament year for the University of Utah. What the basketball postseason looks like, they can go on a run and get an invite to any of the postseason tournaments. We'll see. But it's kind of like you're laying down the foundation. You're probably not even laying down the foundation yet. You're digging the hole right now for Utah basketball. You're getting ready to pour that cement. You're not fully pouring any of the cement yet necessarily. So it's an interesting time in sports and sports talk here on the home of the Utes. But there's a Super Bowl coming. The NFL is even more of a year-round thing than college football is. But interestingly enough, the Broncos made some firings yesterday. The same Denver Broncos team that I think most of us agree could have experienced a different fate in an AFC championship game if Bo Nix was healthy. They fired their offensive coordinator. They fired their wide receivers coach. They fired their cornerbacks coach. In a year where they had a hell of a season, and where Sean Payton himself acknowledges that, well, if I'm okay with going for it on fourth instead of kicking and making sure we had at least a tie game there and the foresight, the hindsight, the whatever. He said, I'm not bothered that we went for it on 4th and 1. I'm probably bothered with the play call, and I think that's where most of us netted out.
But isn't Sean Payton the play caller, though?
Well, he has an offensive coordinator named Joe Lombardi.
Yeah, I had always thought Sean Payton, he was the play caller throughout his time in New Orleans, even though he had a separate offensive coordinator. So that's
you're probably right.
That's what puzzles me about him firing his offensive coordinator, because it's like, dude, you're the offensive coordinator. And I'll admit, I don't know. There's obviously some kind of separation where a guy who's the OC when the head coach is the offensive play caller is still shouldering a lot of the offensive preparation and load. But I don't know enough about that to know what an OC does when they don't call plays, right? So that's puzzling to me why he would. It makes you wonder what this Joe Lombardi guy did to make Sean Payton feel like he's the problem when I don't know. Sean Payton seems to be the one actually running the offense.
Well, even more of a confusing thing when you've got that gray area on what an offensive coordinator does, developing game plans, and obviously it's just as much of a resume thing where you can put coordinator on your resume even if you're not calling the plays. You're right. He is the play caller on game days, but that game plan and that play sheet are put together in conjunction with and so maybe he just realized I don't like working with this dude.
Yeah,
or maybe he looked at it and said, "You know what? That fourth down play where we had the right play called and then we changed things. Maybe Lombardi was the guy who convinced him. We don't know what the headset communication was like."
I'm sure even if you're not the play caller, the OC has a say in what play is called.
Sure.
You would think so.
Maybe. And maybe Sean Payton just got so sick of the outcome there that he was like, you know what? Anyone responsible for that is being fired right now. I can't fire myself.
Yeah, I'm not going to fire myself.
The major point here, though, is that we've seen this tiny little narrow margin that exists in the job security world for coaches. Ryan Day, I've said this many times on the air, Ryan Day would have been fired instead of winning a national championship if we had waited until 2026 to expand the college football playoff to 12. Ryan Day would have been fired because he didn't beat Michigan, he didn't win the conference championship, and people at The Ohio State University were already souring on his weird, he insists the beard has not died, but that whole thing, right? We talked about the Ravens owner sitting down and saying, yeah, you know what, even if Tyler Loop makes a kick, John Harbaugh is getting fired a week later. Well, what if he doesn't lose the next game? What if he wins the next game?
What if he wins the Super Bowl?
Steve? What if John Harbaugh goes on the exact same run that Ryan Day did after he was just near that chopping block because that field goal is made? That's what we're looking at here, and it's part of the appeal, I guess, of these jobs. It's part of the ethos and the mythology surrounding football where it's just like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that, a ball bouncing a certain way, a kick being blocked or not, a play being converted or not can change the whole outlook on everything. I mean, you have to look at it. I think you have to look at it from a Utah football perspective too. Would he who shall not be named still be the head coach at the University of Utah if he kicks 2 field goals instead of going for it 3 times on 4th down against BYU?
I think
if you beat BYU, right? If you beat BYU, you're in the conference championship game at the very least. Now, let's not get unrealistic. Let's not be crazy. Let's say you lose the conference championship game and you are in the exact same spot that BYU was this year at the end of the season where you're playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
People's National Champs, Pop-Tarts Bowl champion.
But the perception potentially, I mean, depending on what side of the fence you fall on, you might be looking at it and saying, well, he was pushed out. He was forced out. There were people who didn't like the way that he did things anymore. It was just time. And I don't need to stir that up anymore. But when we're talking about this Joe Lombardi cat, he's probably looking at it going like, dude, why are you firing me? You called the play.
Do you know who my great grandpa is? No doubt he's related to Vince Lombardi.
And do you know that we were an unfortunate, completely flukish, unlucky quarterback injury away from winning this game going away probably? If we stayed this close with Jarrett Stidham, what would we have looked like with Bo Nix? Jarrett Stidham hadn't thrown a pass for 2 years coming into this game, Sean. I don't think you get to make a case for yourself when you're being fired in the NFL. You probably have to worry about burning bridges and conduct unbecoming and getting a bad reputation. But that would be my instinct. Be like, you're firing me, dude? Are you kidding me? We were right there. And it's not because of me that we weren't there. But in any case, it illustrates the grander thing here with coaching jobs in sports, where if you make a dang kick and you win that playoff game, or you're in the playoffs and then maybe you win a playoff game, then the owner does not sit down and say, it's just time. It's time for us to move on. If you beat your rival and you don't make the decisions that a lot of us pointed to and said, that's the reason you didn't. I mean, I did it. I did it after the game. I came on air and said, this one is on the coach. This one, there's a hierarchy of responsibility here, and this one is not, I called all the right plays and the execution was bad. I did all the right things and the players just didn't care enough. There was a couple of plays in that game. There was one play in particular in that game where it's like, dude, you had the tackle. That's a game-changing play. But that one wouldn't have won you the game necessarily. If you made decisions that took points off the board and those points instead were on the board and you beat the rival, are you getting nudged out the door? Is someone saying, hey, you know what? I think that it's time. I can tell you one thing for sure. Michigan doesn't have their current head coach if that whole scenario changes. Because the only reason that he ended up being the candidate that Michigan went with is because he was available. Michigan isn't coming in and paying a buyout for a 64-year-old coach. That changed the whole that little butterfly effect changed the whole landscape of college football beyond the Big 12 into the Big 10, and maybe Bo Nix trying to center the ball for a kick, having an ankle problem, that potentially changed this person's life, certainly, but the whole Broncos trajectory. It's wild how thin the margins are in coaching, and that brings us to maybe the biggest story in football right now, and it concerns a man that a lot of people think is the greatest coach of all time, a man who lived and got the right side of those tiny little margins for 2 decades.
Todd Monken being hired by the Browns, right? That's what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Bill Belichick.
A different Browns head coach.
A former Browns head coach, known most for his time with the Browns and the success that he had with the Browns. I'll tell you what.
I'm done. Sorry.
Bill Belichick was a lot more interesting when he was the Browns head coach than when he was the Patriots head coach.
Absolutely.
Have you ever seen the tapes, the old NFL films of Bill Belichick, Browns head coach? He's like joking with the media. He's having a grand old time. It's like, you get to New England, Bill, who hurt you?
Yeah.
Well, it was the Cleveland Browns. Thanks a lot, Cleveland. But Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And most of the football world is up in arms about it. Now, I'm here to listen to any argument you have about whether or not the Hall of Fame voting situation, the system, is correct. But I put a poll question out that I thought this would be the answer. I said, is it generally accepted that Bill Belichick was kind of sort of cheating during his Patriots run? Spygate, Deflategate, 2 things they were caught for.
And just to be technical about it, I think that especially as a Patriots hater, colors this. I think that Belichick deserves some blame for Deflategate, but just to be technical about it, Tom Brady was the one guilty of that.
Okay,
and Bill was guilty of Spygate, not Deflategate. But I still think
you could find the sound bites of Bill defending himself in Deflategate and saying, like, I have never concerned myself with this.
The quarterbacks touch the balls.
Now, what do we say? What do we say about every other head coach with every other scandal, issue, problem, whatever that happens in a football program or a football franchise? What do we say about every other one? If it happens under your watch, it's your fault.
Yeah, it's like a totally different situation, but like the circumstances that led to Rick Pitino getting fired by Louisville after an incredible run there, the exotic dancers being arranged for recruits and things like that. He wasn't involved in that, but he was the head coach, so he had to take ultimate responsibility for that.
It's part of the reason you get the big fat check, right? You're in charge, so there's really not a good defense when you say, well, I didn't know about that. All right, well, that's negligence on your part for not knowing about everything that's happening in your program. I don't care about Deflategate, if I'm being honest. I don't care about it one bit. If you think that the Patriots won anything significant because Tom Brady's balls were a little bit softer than everyone else's, football's family show, then you're probably not understanding fully how hard it is to win at that level. Now, the Spygate thing is a big deal.
Absolutely
That's
egregious.
A massive deal.
Yeah.
That's incredibly egregious. And by the way, it's what they were caught for. So how much other stuff? It's kind of like, I will ask you this out there. Is Jim Harbaugh a first ballot college football Hall of Famer because of the championship he won at Michigan? Or do you put an asterisk next to it because of the sign stealing? Spygate was the same thing. It was just in 2007 before Netflix had a robust documentary sort of arm. And so it was heavily talked about, heavily reported on, but not on the levels that we get this exposure now. Like we look at Spygate, and all of you, 91% of you said, yeah, he cheated.
And now, that's the main thing that we're thinking of. We're not thinking of Deflategate, but I'm sure a lot of people are taking that into consideration.
So here's the thing. Is Bill Belichick the best head coach in the history of the NFL? Probably yes. Is it okay that voters said, you know what? You're not a first ballot Hall of Famer because you cheated for a couple of those championships or even one of those championships. He's not going to be held out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bill, this is not a Barry Bonds situation. This is not a Roger Clemens. This is, by the way, the eligibility rules changed, so you don't have to wait for a coach 5 years like you used to.
Is it just as soon as they're
it's
not
a year.
coaching?
You're done.
It's 1 year.
You're done, and now we can do it. It's like, okay. And honestly, maybe there are people that are just like, look, dude, your whole vibe right now is weird to me. It's one of the problems of putting this in the hands of voters, right? We get because we are a democratic republic, a constitutional republic here in the United States of America. We like to call ourselves a democracy, and we like to say vote the sacrosanct right to vote and the sacrosanct nature of living by the results of those votes. With a general populace, sure, I'll listen to that argument. When you're handing the responsibility to 250 people, if the opinions of those 250 people net out in a way that you don't like, you can examine your system, but you can't act so shocked and surprised. When you give a bunch of self-important journalists and people in and around the game of football that might have some type of axe to grind with Bill Belichick for whatever reason, because he beat me too many times, because he was spying on my gate during Spygate, because my footballs were overinflated and yours were underinflated, whatever it is, if you're going to live and die by these results, the only thing that I fully 100% all the way agree with on everyone's sort of gripe list today, the grievances being aired today, is that they're just like, all right, if you're not going to put Bill Belichick in, you better damn well tell me why. I'm totally fine with anyone who wants to vote any particular way as long as they can articulate the reason that they are voting that way. If you can tell me why Bill Belichick doesn't belong, on the first ballot in his Hall of Fame induction, if you could say to me, yeah, dude, I'll put him in next year. I'll put him in 5 years. I'll put him in as soon as he gets rid of that sugar baby he's got following him around, because that's conduct unbecoming in my opinion. Whatever. But the Spygate thing is enough for some people, and maybe myself included, to say, yeah, first ballot Hall of Fame, no. Are you a Hall of Famer? Yes. Is your reputation going to go down as, the greatest in the history of the game? Yeah, probably so. And guess what? This probably adds to that now. This becomes a little footnote in the lore of Bill Belichick, where everyone 10 years from now, 20 years from now goes, huh. And you know what? He was so hated for all of his winning that people wouldn't even vote him into the Hall of Fame straight away. I am normally I'm a big-time overreactor, okay? I feel like today I am underreacting and everyone else is overreacting to the idea that Bill Belichick is not a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And a lot of people who are normally silent on things, who don't have comments on things, are giving big-time comments, are making their case. And they're saying, well, if not Bill, then who?
Like Jimmy Johnson, who's on the TV right now, Pat McAfee show.
Yes.
He had some strong words.
Here's the thing. If you have to explain why you're not putting him in, and that explanation includes, well, I think that he fudged the rules enough that he doesn't get to be a first ballot Hall of Famer for me, I'm probably like, but he's a Hall of Famer, right? Yes. Is he the best ever? Yes. Well, don't you think the best ever should be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Well, yeah, but what if I told you that the best ever in baseball is a guy named Barry Bonds? And then you're like, oh, yeah, all right. Well, Barry Bonds and Pete Rose, they're never getting in.
Yeah.
Right? Although Pete Rose is now posthumously.
He's getting some momentum towards that.
He is now allowed. He's no longer banned. Yeah. But, what Bill Belichick did, what Bill Belichick was caught for, is probably enough for some of the people who have votes to say, no, dude, I'm sick of everyone groveling at your feet. You were a cheater. Like, Jim Harbaugh, to me, is one of the most interesting guys in all of sports. I look at the championship he won at Michigan, and I say, that is a tainted championship. Michigan fans don't have to look at it that way. Ohio State fans, I'm sure James certainly do.
We should everyone should look at it that way, if on the record, OC.
I'm fine with, if there are plenty of people, like Jeff Schwartz is going to join us today. Jeff Schwartz, if he had a vote, he puts Barry Bonds in the Baseball Hall of Fame every day of the week. That's his favorite player ever. The numbers before he did the drugs were Hall of Fame numbers. He was already on pace. He didn't need to do it, which for me is even more reason why you should punish him for doing it.
That's my view on it. Like, if you
didn't even need it and you still did it, you're just a moron.
Yeah, if you're willing to risk your legacy for something you didn't need, and that's, by the way, there's a similar tie to what's been reported about what Belichick said about the advantage that Spygate gave him. If you remember, I think it may have been in the big Apple Patriots Dynasty documentary. It was certainly reported other places, but Robert Kraft asked Bill Belichick, once they got into hot water for this and after the NFL punished them for it, he asked him, if you could give me a percentage of an advantage this gave us, what would it be? And Belichick said 1 or 2%. And Robert Kraft called him a schmuck, because that's ridiculous to risk what we just got, the punishment we just got levied on us and our reputation and everything for what you deem to be a 1 or 2% advantage. And I think that's
also
same thing you could say about Barry Bonds in a little bit different way.
Also, a 1 or 2% advantage is completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
Like for Deflategate, sure, 1 or 2%.
Yeah, it's
for
way
Spygate, dude, if you know even what the other team's formation is going to be before you actually witness it, advantage. You get a head start in that play.
It's way higher than a percentage or two.
If all you know, right, you don't know the route tree, You don't know the blocking scheme. You don't know anything. But if you know this is a pass play or that's a run play, massive, massive advantage. If you know more than that, if you know somebody else's play, we all cheated at some point playing video games with our friends, right? We've all done this before. Remember the old Tecmo? I'm so happy we've gotten to reference Super Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Bowl a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. Remember when you were playing defense in Tecmo Bowl, you would try to pick the play that they picked on their play selection screen. And if you did, that's a bust. Your defense goes crazy, whatever, right? And when you get into the more advanced games, you could, if you wanted to, you could watch what offensive package people were picking because it's a split screen. And you could give, you knew the tendencies of your buddy that you played with all the time. Now, when you're doing it over the internet, I don't know how it's done.
Yeah, you only see your own screen.
You only see your own screen. But back in my day, kids, it was a split screen. So you
sharing
could see
one screen, yeah.
You were sharing one screen. So your defensive playbook was at the top, the offensive playbook was at the bottom, and if you played with your roommate every single day, you were just like, 3rd and 8, I know what he's going to call here. And you would see, oh, yep, he's picking that. Yep, he's in trips. Yes, okay. And you knew what they were going to do. And so you called the defense.
It's always honor system, but you peaked.
You peaked.
You absolutely peaked.
All of us have done it. And it gave, even in video games, it gave you a huge advantage knowing what play they were going to run. Imagine in real life if you have Tom bleeping Brady who's like, I know what pressure they're bringing. Or if you're Bill Belichick, one of the best defensive minds that we've seen in the NFL, and you're just like, I know what the offense intends to do here. And I have Rodney Harris. I've got all of these monster defensive players that I can tell, hey, it's going here. It's a massive, massive advantage. And is it the only reason he won Super Bowls? No. If he had won a single Super Bowl in the same year that Spygate happened, we'd be having a very different conversation. I think Bill Belichick realized at some point, or maybe he learned enough from the Spygate situation where he's just like, I don't need this. I can win it clean. Maybe. Or maybe he just didn't get caught for the other stuff. But the bottom line is we have gotten to this point in sports where the absolutism of well, did you win or not is all that we care about. It's all that we care about. Did you win or not? The means or the ends justify the means for people. I'm still enough of a moralist when it comes to sports because sports are a privilege. It's not a right. You know what I mean? Did you put food on the table for your children? For me, the ends justify the means there. Like that, I'm not going to criticize you if you had to steal to put food on, bread on the table. If you want to go Les Miserables with this thing, I'm okay with that. My moral gray ground gets big when it comes to that kind of thing. Sports, you don't have to win. Sports, it's like you're not entitled to winning, and you're not allowed to cheat your way to winning still for me. I even hate the fact that you're allowed to spend your way to winning in baseball and spend your way to winning right now in college football. I'm happy that Curt Cignetti, even though they spent a lot of money, they weren't the biggest spenders. I'm happy that Indiana gives us that glimmer of hope at least. I hate the fact that you as a Utah fan has to now be apologetic over the idea that we don't have as much NIL money or as everyone else as Texas Tech does. So now we got to handicap ourselves. No, I hate that.
Well, I mean, Bobby Blecken, that certainly seemed to be in his thoughts with his apology tweet he sent out. Sorry, we couldn't do more. And it's as you said, rightfully, you don't need to apologize for anything, Bobby.
Yeah.
But it sucks that he may have felt may or may not be for that part of that reasoning.
You know, Bobby, I'm sorry. Sorry because I'm sorry I got into sports radio instead of a tech company and not becoming a billionaire.
Yeah. Because you would give all your money to Utah football.
You know what? I would give all my money to Weber State football would be in the
FCS champions.
They'd be in the still surviving Pac-12 if I had been a billionaire 10 years ago.
With Jay Hill still the head coach.
Yes, probably so.
Yeah.
I mean, the Belichick thing, everyone's just he's the best. Okay, fine. He's going to get in. But if you're not willing to say, you know what? cheating is bad, Bill, and I'm going to punish you a little bit for cheating. The $500,000, nothing. Doesn't matter to Bill Belichick.
Lost some draft picks too, right?
The lost draft picks.
That hurt, when it happened.
Yeah, maybe. And look, time served, great. Allow Bill Belichick to be an NFL coach for the rest of his life. He doesn't have to serve suspensions anymore. You paid your penalties. That's okay. But the Hall of Fame, you are not entitled to the Hall of Fame as somebody who competes in the NFL, in pro football. Like, if that were the case, every single player could be, I was in the league for 10 years. I'm a Hall of Famer. No, you're not, dude. You know who's a Hall of Famer? The dudes who were the best. And I get it. I'm going against my own definition of what's a Hall of Famer right now. And I heard Peter Schrager talking about this yesterday. Can you write the history of the NFL without Bill Belichick? Absolutely not. He has to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. However, can you write the history of Bill Belichick and do a good job of it without pointing out the fact that he was caught cheating? The answer to that is also no, you cannot. You cannot write Bill Belichick's history without mentioning Spygate. And if you want to leave Deflategate out, fine. If it's only Spygate, for me, that's enough to look at and say, you know what? We will punish you for this. I will tell you, I'll put you in next year because of this.
Can I make another point too? I do not understand all the NFL people, former great players, former coaches, Jimmy Johnson, for example, who have responded with so much outrage. It's like they got left out of the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think it's because coaches respect what he was able to do.
Yeah.
And I think that coaches have this arrogance that is sometimes earned, but where they're just like, you don't even have any idea, random voter, random other person. You have no idea how much it takes to achieve what Bill Belichick achieved. And guess what? I don't. We don't. I can promise you this. I will never again in my life be the type of person who puts 18 hours a day into a professional pursuit. Now, there were times in my life where my whole day was taken up with work and training, right? It wasn't the same as Bill Belichick grinding tape in his office and sleeping there, but there was a time in life where I was either working or I was training, and the rest of the things had to go away. That'll never be me again, all right? I'm a dad now. I'm going to play with my kids instead. So I don't understand the sacrifice that Bill Belichick and other coaches make to win these Super Bowls, but I do understand that I never cheated on my way to what limited success I had. Never. I never took a performance-enhancing substance. I never deliberately did anything that was a foul in a fight. I never one time deliberately broke the rules or even really bent the rules. I never did an IV to rehydrate after weight cutting, even when it was legal. I've always done things by the book. And because of that, I'm okay with people saying that's my expectation for Hall of Fame. It's not even my expectation for being in the NFL. It's not. If you want to be in the NFL, you want to be a total HGH juice monkey and just do whatever it takes to keep yourself in the league, performance-enhancing drugs, whatever. Like, I'm not going to judge you anymore because I realize guys have whole networks of people to feed. I realize that if your football career is over, in your mind, your life is over. I hate that it's necessary for some people to do that, and they're good at it. But when you talk about Hall of Fame, when you talk about the ultimate privilege of being recognized as somebody who is that much better than all of your peers, who are all pretty damn impressive, I am 1,000,000% okay with anybody who holds a vote, who's been given that authority to say, sorry, Barry Bonds, cheating still matters to me. Sorry, Bill Belichick, cheating still matters to me. I'm totally fine with this. And it seems like the NFL, weirdly, is not. The same people who were victimized by Bill Belichick cheating are also like, well, but you got to put him in the Hall of Fame.
One of them that stood out to me was Jeff Saturday. That guy, do you know how many times Jeff Saturday lost to the Patriots in the playoffs during the Spygate era of the Patriots, by the way, that first part of the dynasty. And he was one of these guys going, this is ridiculousness. Which, listen, I agree that he should be a Hall of Famer, even with the Spygate stuff, time served, whatever. But I'm with you. I'm totally fine with, I guess it was, Rich Eisen was good about this. He said it had to be at least 11 voters because that percentage-wise gets you under 80%. I'm okay with 11 guys agreeing that maybe we'll vote, maybe all of us or the majority of us are going to vote him in eventually, but he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because call them unnecessary gatekeepers if you want. The fact is voters are the gatekeepers and they're allowed to say, we're going to take a stance against cheating. We may not make this forever, but you don't get the distinct honor of being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm okay with that.
Being a Hall of Famer is already such a lofty honor that guys in and around the NFL, I mean, this is like a lifetime achievement award for people. To be a first ballot Hall of Famer puts you in that other like category. It's kind of like being a unanimous MVP, a unanimous All-American. We find when we're talking about the greatest of the great, there are ways that you can separate out the elite even from the elites, right? And if people, the only change I need to this whole process that happened that resulted in Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer is I want the voters, I want it to be public, and I want the voters who said no to tell us why. And if their explanation is what I've been ranting about for 30 minutes, I fully agree. If it's something like, I just don't like him, I'm going to be like, well, that's not cool. Take the vote away from that guy. Or, he beat us too many times, so I don't want him in. No, all right. I don't.
That's not valid.
That's not a valid reason to keep somebody out of the Hall. If your reason is like, he creeps me out with this whole Hudson situation, okay? Like, he's old enough to be that person's grandfather, and that weirds me out. I have like a morality clause in my Hall of Fame voting. I'm probably going to be like, relax. But I also will listen to that.
I don't think that that's valid as
I don't think
for
that's
his
anyone's
head coaching
reason
career. Yeah, right. But yeah, Dan Patrick said it best, I think, and he said what you're saying. If your reasoning is you don't like that he cheated, then just say you don't like that he cheated because that's a valid reason.
Also, here's something interesting coming in from Zach Nolan, 1804, says, if they're going to hold Belichick off the first ballot, they have to hold Brady off too, though. Actually, no, because guess what? You could say, as a part of your reasoning for why you held Bill Belichick off the first ballot, you could say, I think that Tom Brady won those Super Bowls and Bill had very little to do with it. And, by the way, he was a cheater. And then the counterpoint is, well, Tom Brady says that's the best coach he's ever had. And my counterpoint to that is Tom has to say that. Tom cannot say anything besides that. He's still a forward-facing public figure. He cannot stir up any kind of a hornet's nest there. Like, if your reason for leaving Bill Belichick out of the first ballot Hall of Fame category is because you saw what it looks like when he doesn't have Tom Brady as a quarterback, I will listen to that argument. Okay, like, you have to make your own case. However, I saw the graphic. We all saw the graphic. He won one playoff game without Tom Brady as his quarterback. One. Well,
and you could say, well, Brady was caught cheating too with Deflategate, and maybe that's going to be a reason for a few voters, but that's not going to be a reason to put him under the 80% that makes him a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think it should be.
We are finding out more and more, in my opinion, that Bill Belichick was the best at being opportunistic and acknowledging what he had. And honestly, he was a great personnel manager. All of these things that will eventually put him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, probably as soon as next year, given the backlash that we're seeing right now. But if it's a hot take, I don't understand why. I am 1,000% fine with him having to wait however long it takes, because he was a cheater at one point, and he never won without Tom Brady. So, I mean, It's fascinating to see this reaction. We are seeing right now what happens when you tell someone that even like when you tell heroes that their heroes are not as good as they think they are. It's like walking into it's like walking into a group of musicians and being like, you know who's not that great of a musician? And then throwing down whoever is the most respected. Somebody who cares about music, tell me. You know who doesn't have a great voice? Adele. And having them be like, what? When you tell people that their heroes are not supposed to be heroes, they get mad about it. And this is, if anything, we're learning how much respect Bill Belichick has in NFL circles, because his foes, his friends, his contemporaries are more up in arms than he himself is, seemingly. All right. You may have noticed we don't have a guest at 11:30 today. I have ranted my way through nearly an hour of radio.
These are the best times for OC wanting to continue his point through a scheduled break is when we don't have anyone scheduled, so it's totally fine.
Poor James, as a producer, has absolutely no hope in getting me to stay on time when it's something like this. 877-353-0700. Keep it in. Also, at 3869, we're gonna address your point as well. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792 on FM. Jeff Schwartz is going to join us at 12:30. Adrian Denny at 1 o'clock. Big Willie's is the presenting sponsor of the show. Go down there to 1717 South Main. Tell them OC sent you. Put your name in the raffle for a pair of Mammoth tickets, 8th row Mammoth tickets on the February 4th game against the Detroit Red Wings. Mammoth, by the way, with a huge win last night. Not like a huge margin of victory, but on a back-to-back in Florida after losing 2-0 to Tampa Bay to beat the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, who are back to full strength. They're very near full strength, with Tkachuk back in the lineup and Bobrovsky back in the lineup and all that stuff. For the Mammoth to get that game on the road on the second night of a back-to-back, that is huge. We'll talk about it with Adrian Denny.
Yeah, by the way, I was going to say, just given what we've been saying, the feedback we've been getting from Patrick and Michelle at Big Willie's about there just not being a ton of entries, just to make a case for that game, it's not only an original six hockey town Detroit Red Wings coming to town, that's pretty cool to see that, even if you're not much of a hockey fan yet, to see them come to Salt Lake City. I mean, for me, I'm not much of a hockey fan yet. Getting there, that sounds really cool to me to be able to see that. You have that, but also the Detroit Red Wings are really good this year. They're near the top of their division, if not leading their division. I need to double check that, OC. So this could be
they're
a good test
behind Tampa Bay.
They're in the playoff picture, right? So this could be a really good test for Utah Mammoth, a really good game, and one that if the Mammoth are able to come out with a victory, you as a fan and the team should feel pumped about. So that's the game that you can win tickets to. So go ahead and put your name in the raffle.
Utah now with 60 points in the playoff standings in the Western Conference. They are sandwiched between the Anaheim Ducks, right beneath them, and the Edmonton Oilers, who have 62 points. The Colorado Avalanche continue to be just ridiculous. They are holding on to 79 points right now, and their goal differential, they are sitting at a comfortable plus 76 on the season so far. My gosh, the Avs are just disgusting, and we hate it.
We hate the Avs. Hate everything about Colorado. Hate the Avalanche. Denver's a way worse city.
That's absolutely accurate.
Yeah. So we hate that they're the best team in the NHL.
And Denver got snow that we're hoping for.
Yeah,
okay?
Come on now, Denver.
So now we're bothered even more so. All right. So we spent a lot of time on the Bill Belichick thing. One more text that I wanted to get to here. We were talking about this during the break. Bill Polian is kind of having to defend himself. I didn't tell people. I didn't collude with other people to keep Bill Belichick out. Polian and Dungy did feel that Bill Belichick had listening devices in locker rooms potentially, and even in booths, in play calling booths.
Mike Tomlin also aired that grievance with the NFL after an AFC Championship game. I think the Steelers' final AFC Championship game under Mike Tomlin. So. Yeah, there are those rumors too.
So here's something that we know from the Cooper Kupp story. Here's something. People in the NFL talk to each other, all right? So even though Polian's going on now, saying, no, I didn't tell anyone not to vote for Bill.
I don't remember what I voted for. That was so long ago.
No, it wasn't. You remember. But if there are people who feel like you got caught for Spygate, and there was other stuff that you never got officially punished for, you shouldn't be surprised that this is the result. It's a good point from our texter 3869. Got to take another break here. Darian Mensah, we talked about this, the injunction that the court gave, the temporary restraining order, so he could not enter the transfer portal. Well, guess what? He got what he wanted. He got where he wanted. My big question is, what did Duke get back? We'll discuss that next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, we have talked about some of these crazy stories in the transfer portal where the lawyers get heavily involved. Darian Mensah, the Duke quarterback who entered the football transfer portal at the 11th hour, and lawyers had to get involved because Duke was like, no. You signed a deal with us, and we intend to enforce this. Duke did what Dabo Swinney is threatening Clemson with the linebacker situation, where Ole Miss poaches a linebacker for a couple $1 million, and Dabo went and told his tales out of school and named names and took the timestamps and said, hey, I'm not allowing this to happen on my watch. We're going to pursue this to our legal ends. And Duke did the same thing with Darian Mensah. Miami won, though. And Darian Mensah got what he wanted. Now, 877-353-0700. If you've seen the number on the settlement, any kind of reliable reporting on how much Duke got back, please find it for me. Let me know. I cannot find the real number here. The reason I ask, the reason I want to know is because, again, all of these things that are happening semi for the first time are setting a precedent. And I'm not just talking about the legal precedent, like the in-court precedent. I'm talking about the industry and the standard of what college football is going to do with these, what college basketball is going to do with these in the future. What did Duke get back? Because they denied the request for Darian Mensah to get the release. They said, no, man, you signed a contract. You're going to play out your contract. And yes, we will pay you what we agreed to pay you, but we need a quarterback. And Darian Mensah, after his conversations with Miami, again, tampering, unenforced, and perhaps unenforceable, Darian Mensah said, no, I'm going. I need to be in the transfer portal. And everyone knew it was Miami. He didn't name Miami, but everyone knew it was Miami, and now Miami's got him. And he only missed a month of school because we're going to pretend that matters for 5 minutes. What did Duke get back? And the reason I want to know is because for Utah, I guess also for BYU, there are going to be scenarios in which you have a player who's like, all right, I'm happy to be here. I love this. I love playing for Morgan Scalley. And I would like to extend my contract with you guys. And that person is going to sign on the dotted line, and the university is going to be happy. And at least for a time, that person and their family and whoever else is involved is going to be happy. And then they might get a phone call from Ole Miss. They might get a phone call from LSU. They might get a phone call from USC. Heaven forbid, a phone call from Michigan. I know we've already been through this. And now that these teams are putting enforceable language in these contracts, and we know that's true because of the Damon Williams situation at Washington, Damon Williams and his attorneys were just like, you know what? Let's not do this. Let's not cause any problems here. They went back to Washington. Now, in the Darian Mensah case, he's not going back to Duke. But Duke is not left holding the bag. Duke is not standing left in the lurch. Duke got something in a settlement. I desperately want to know what that settlement really looks like. I desperately want to know if the damages, if the settlement, if it's just an even exchange, if it's a full refund, so to speak, where it's like the Mensah contract never happened, or is there something on top of it? Because if all you're getting is a net neutral here and you still lost the player, that is a big win for Miami, and that is a heavy loss for Duke. Recouping your money or whatever doesn't mean anything here. Duke has enough money. They can print the money. They can go to the booster and ask for the money. What they need is a player. What they need is a quarterback. And now that the transfer portal is closed, Duke is in a really, really tough spot where if they wanted to get that, they're going to now have to sue the NCAA to allow for them to tamper with somebody else's QB the way that their QB was tampered with. Do you see what a mess this is? So how much is that worth financially to Duke? I don't know that there's a number. Like, if Duke gets an extra $10 million out of this, if Miami had to call a billionaire booster and say, give me $10 million so I can shut up Duke, and Duke gets $10 million donation to their NIL fund, because of where the calendar is at right now and the fact that there's not another transfer portal window opening before next season, did Duke really get anything meaningful to Duke for 2026? Did Manny Diaz, the former Miami coach, that's got to kill him, by the way, who won the conference championship, did he actually gain anything meaningful for next year with this settlement? I think the answer is definitely not. And maybe if the timing were a little bit different and he could take these damages and he could deploy them in the favor of the Blue Devils roster, we'd be having a completely different conversation. And maybe we'd just be like, oh, you know what? You can't hold guys that don't want to be there. You can't keep people there if they don't want to be there. But, man, if you don't have the means to replace your talent, even though you have the money to replace your talent, it's not anything. Like, what did you settle for? Duke agreeing to this settlement is a massive loss. Unless, James, is there something I'm missing here where Duke was like, yeah, we actually didn't like that Mensa kid that much anyway. That's why we were going to pay him $5 million.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of they have to, I would guess, some kind of financial, hey, we're going to give back this much money. It's got to be that.
It's got to be, but even if it is, how much money does that have to be to offset the number of games, extra games now that you're going to lose because you don't have Mensa and you can't replace him?
Here's the other angle. And the local tie here. This is, I would think, how Morgan Scalley would approach the situation, what I'm about to lay out here. Because he said, we want players who want to be here, right? And if Duke, through this process, found that Darian Mensah they're not going to have the situation where Washington was confident in convincing Damon Williams to come back and confident that they would still have buy-in from Damon Williams as their starting quarterback if he were to come back, enough to fight that and get him to, hey, no, you're gonna honor your end of the deal because we're honoring our end. We're gonna enforce our end of the deal, right? Maybe that's it. Duke was like, even if we had him back, he's not bought in, so he's going to be in the way, right?
Sure.
So we will settle for whatever money you want to give back to us because we can't have a starting quarterback that doesn't want to be here. That's going to be disgruntled. Maybe that's
which I agree with.
Maybe that's why they're willing to eat the unfortunate fact that, hey, we're going to be worse next year.
Let's localize this, okay? Most people believe that Celestimo was tampered with, all right? I tend to give Michigan a little bit more grace because of the relationships that Lewis Powell especially had with the Moa family, whatever, okay? Neither here nor there. But let's say that, and by the way, he did jump into the transfer portal very late in the cycle. But let's say that Michigan was forced to pay a settlement to Utah for losing Celestimo to Michigan. In our case, in the case of Utah football, that would be a welcome sort of outcome here. That'd be something you're just like, oh, cool, yeah. So we got, $2 million because we were going to pay him one. We added some damages. We got $2 million here, and so we're going to be able to use that on somebody. And then the question immediately turns to, all right, cool, we got money. How are you going to use it, though? Because now you can't go get a guy that you think is a close replacement. You can't go get like the analog, the analogy for this player because they're not out there anymore. The guys that are that good are already gone from the transfer portal. They've already committed. They've already enrolled. And that's where this is so fascinating for me. I just pulled up the Duke roster And they've got a freshman quarterback named Dan Mahan. Okay. Dan Mahan was a pretty solid high school quarterback. 6'2", 195 from Burlington, North Carolina. 3-star athlete. Okay.
Could be a lot worse than having that guy slotted in to be your starter.
The number 56 ranked quarterback in his recruiting class. They also have a grad transfer from Valparaiso named Michael Apple Jr., who's 6'4", 215, and looks like he is a team manager. Now, only in the photo, because
those measurables, though.
You can't tell how tall he is in this photo, but, man, he looks like he should be the team manager. Scrawny, long neck. But he's 6'4", 215, okay?
Shout out to Valpo.
Yeah, good for you, Valpo. All right? So maybe that's a great deep QB room when Darian Mensah's the guy at the top. Now that's the QB room. And now there is not a mechanism, and I think it's correct in college football that we have a single transfer portal window now. I would despise them opening up a post-spring window again.
We still have the official national signing day, so there's still a chance to get high school guys, right?
Correct.
That's coming up. So, but that's not near as good a mechanism as the transfer portal this time of year.
The top uncommitted high school football quarterback of 2026, you think that guy's going to Duke? Maybe now he is, because they've got money that Miami had to pay them for stealing Mensah.
Possibly. That's our best guess, is their end of the settlement.
Jet Thamala from Omaha, Nebraska. Jonas Williams, Jake Fett, Traden Bessinger, Oscar Rios, and Bryson Beaver are the top uncommitted quarterbacks remaining.
And all named teams, some of those guys.
Wow, there's some.
Well, did I hear Boba's nephew?
If your name is Jake Fett and people don't call you Boba, or at least Django, they are really missing out on an opportunity here.
Yeah.
He's from El Paso, Texas.
Some kind of Star Wars themed bar isn't lining up to give you NIL money.
By the way, Traden Bessinger is from Davis High School in Kaysville, Utah. So he might have.
I was going to say Bessinger sounded familiar. Okay.
He might have a fat old bag coming his way from Duke. So this could potentially work out well for a local.
They're going to throw a shot in the dark for a dart.
Okay. That was not. No. Here's the thing.
Good time for a break.
I understand why Duke had to do what it did in settling here. Because like you pointed out, and like Morgan Scalley's philosophy is, and I think most college football coaches feel this way, if you don't want to be here, we don't want you to be here. But if you're going to leave after we've made this agreement, I want to get something back. There are mechanisms for this in every professional sports league, right? You get compensatory picks, you get trade value, you get things like that. We're on our way toward collective bargaining, and maybe trades become a thing in college football at some point. I don't know what Miami could have given back for Mensah that would make Duke feel good. But from a financial standpoint, and I understand why they probably didn't have a ton of leverage here, but I need to know that number, because if the number is not like $25 million, which I know it's probably not, then Duke just got fleeced here, got screwed here, got killed here. And that sets a bad precedent in college football. Because now that Miami and those type of schools know, well, if I can convince someone in my own conference, my own division, if I can convince their best player in the 11th hour to jump into the transfer portal, and all it takes is for me to pay their way out of the legal trouble that comes from it, I can handicap Duke and get this player at the same time, and all it's going to do is cost me $2 million, $5 million, $10 million. If money is something that is readily available to you, and for some schools it is, this sets a terrible precedent. If I'm Oregon, and Dan Lanning, I think, is a man of higher competitive sort of morality than this. But like if I'm in Oregon, whatever, if I'm Phil Knight, I'm just going like, wait a second. Who can we take from Indiana on the Friday of next year's transfer portal that keeps them from beating us?
All it takes is money?
If all it takes is money, and I have lots of money, there are people out there, and I know it's hard for us to understand at the University of Utah, but there are schools out there and there are boosters out there where money is like not even a concern. They don't view it the way that you and I view it. I don't think BYU's in that category yet. Texas Tech is, by the way. You watch. For the foreseeable future, Texas Tech is not going to have a situation where money stops them from getting anything they want.
Guys, if guys don't choose Texas Tech, it might be because they want to go to Ohio State or Alabama or Notre Dame more.
Or they
That's
just
it, right?
or they just want to live in a place where there's more than 2 targets.
Yeah.
Or they just don't want to be in West Texas. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that all still comes into play, but money is not going to be a thing that stops Texas Tech from getting what they want moving forward. BYU, there's still enough layers of bureaucracy and influence from decision makers in downtown Salt Lake City that they're going to deliberately not be the highest bidder on some things.
Well, and I don't think they have Cody Campbell Texas Tech money at BYU. I think they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I don't think they quite have that kind of money.
Well, I think they
either.
do.
You think they do?
Because we know at least one billionaire donor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And
right?
There's more than just one billionaire that's donating.
And by the way, we're not approaching in any of these situations, we're not approaching like even double-digit millions in all that's been reported so far. I mean, as far as we know, there's not a single quarterback in college football yet that is making $10 million plus for 1 year, as far as we know. Arch Manning is probably getting close to that right now. Maybe Dante Moore.
Yeah.
Dante Moore, we talked about a $10 million deal for Dante Moore.
But that's the top. We're not seeing more than 10.
Right?
For players yet.
If you are a billionaire, $10 million is not a lot of money. If you care like Cody Campbell does. The care factor is the thing that separates here. And for BYU, there's also there's some insecurity with garnering a reputation that you buy everything you want. They don't want that to be the reputation because BYU has to live on this thing like this is a special place that is different than other places. You're here because you fit here. You're here because you want to be here. And if you have a person, a player, a coach say, I'm here because they pay me more than anyone else pays me, that undermines that mission statement at BYU. So they have to be careful about it. Texas Tech doesn't. Oregon doesn't. Ohio State doesn't. Michigan doesn't. Alabama doesn't. They can just be like, this kid didn't even want to be here, but we gave him an offer he can't refuse.
It's funny, in theory, Notre Dame has to, but I don't think that's not the messaging Notre Dame puts out.
Notre Dame is so funny as a religious institution. It's like the 15th thing down everyone's list. Like, oh yeah. Also there's a priest at the game.
Also, like the iconic Catholic school in the entire country, if not the world.
Is Marcus Freeman Catholic?
He might not be. I don't know.
He's
different. A Buckeye. You cared to know that.
I didn't care to know that. Okay, yeah, he is. All right. Okay. So maybe they do care on that level at least. But
they don't put out this messaging that, hey, any kind of thing that we've heard from folks at BYU and around BYU trying to convince people they're not the highest bidder all the time. They just, hey, if we are, we have that kind of money.
Wait a second. He converted to being Catholic.
Oh, after he was hired?
It looks like it.
Oh, my goodness.
Whoa. That's I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to leave that alone.
Some admiration you have for him as someone who grew up Catholic?
Marcus Freeman converted to being Catholic after he became the head coach at Notre Dame.
Notable.
All right. Maybe there's hope for me to be the head coach of BYU football yet, James. If that's all you got to do.
We're getting that weird number calling us again.
Nope, sorry. I'm kidding. Marcus, I'm not putting that evil on you. If that's wonderful. If that's
I'm
great.
sure it was very sincere. He wanted
All right. We're going to leave it alone. Daily Dump is next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Plumbing, Truck with the Duck has you covered. Drain cleaning, same thing. Maybe it's your vents that need a cleaning. Well, now they can take care of that as well. Furnace starting to cough and rattle and act crazy. The Truck with the Duck has you covered on all fronts. When you call Valley Plumbing, tell them OC sent you. All right, little daily dump here. Jeff Schwartz going to join us next. A lot of people baffled by the Bill Belichick exclusion from his first ballot eligibility in the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that with Jeff and many other things around the world of football. This one's a fun one for Utah fans. The Rivals put out their final rankings of the 2026 recruits, the top recruits in the country in 2026. And Kelvin Obot, as a 5-star, who played his high school ball, of course, up in Fruitland, Idaho, for Jordan Gross, who is now your offensive line coach at the University of Utah. Obot in class, committed, stayed. He's the number 5 player in the country, according to the Rivals' final ranking of their 5-stars. There's 32 5-star athletes in the Rivals' rankings. And like I said, they do a really good job of separating these guys and being as accurate as you can be on predicting their success. Do you know what the draft rate, the draftability rate for 5-star recruits is, James?
So this is the rate that these guys end up getting drafted just anywhere in the draft?
Yes.
Not in a particular place? 35%?
It's about 65%.
65%. Okay. I way lowballed it. The reason I went that low is because I feel like we hear of so many that highly touted coming out of high school end up not making it to the NFL, being kind of college busts, if you will. So, but 65%. Yeah.
They did a study in 2019 and 2020 drafts, and 48% of the 5-star prospects in that time were selected in the first round of the NFL draft. 5-star recruits ranked in the top 15 are most likely to be drafted, with most of those going in the first 2 rounds. So if you're a 5-star, you are 37%. Oh, excuse me. The 4-star draft rate is about 37%. So if we're talking 63, 65% for 5-stars, you got a significantly higher chance to be a drafted player as a 5-star. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The expectation for a 5-star for Kelvin Obot, who came into the program as a freshman, higher rated than Spencer Fano did, who was just named the number 1 offensive lineman, the number 1 lineman in all of college football. The expectation is that he will be a 3 years and done type player. The number 5 guy in this draft class, in this recruiting class, according to Rivals. And, of course, there's multiple recruiting services. Celesi Moa, I know this is painful for a lot of people. They had 32 5-stars in the class this year. Number 30 is headed to Michigan, the son of Ben Moa, Celesi Moa, who, look, I still wish the kid well. I still hope he ends up having, a successful college football career. I would bet a lot of money that he doesn't finish at Michigan. Just the nature of college football now is Miami's going to call him. Maybe my hope is, my secret hope, and I don't know how likely this is. I don't know the kid personally. I know his dad personally. I don't know the kid personally. My hope is that he's the baby of the family, right? And the baby of the family is usually babied in the family. So the baby of the family might be the one that's just like, I want to go home. That's my hope. I'd still be excited about Utah getting him back. I know that there's a lot of fans who don't feel that way, and I'm certainly not holding my breath for it. But you got the number 5 guy who's in your program right now. That has never happened in the history of Utah football, ever. Not even close.
That's awesome. And as you said, there's still a lot of hard feelings about the Celesi Moa situation. But if you're a Utah football fan, you should feel really good about this recruiting class, given that you have, even with that flip, who flipped to you initially. Anyway, getting a little hairy there. Getting the number 5 guy in this class, keeping that guy, you should still feel really good about this recruiting class. Just with that in a vacuum, of course. Gonna have to get over the Celesi Moa thing at some point, because he's not gonna be a Ute next year.
The number one guy in the class, and again, these rankings are what they are. Take them with a grain of salt. But the numbers say that, a lot of these guys are, 2/3 of these guys are going to be drafted. Luke Waffle is headed to USC. The number 2 guy is headed to Vanderbilt. Jared Curtis is the number 2 5-star in this class, number 2 overall recruit in this class, according to Rivals. He's going to Vanderbilt. Offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell is going to Miami. Keyshawn Henderson, another quarterback, number 4. Guess where he's going? Houston. What? Houston might be one of those teams that's on the come up in a way that makes us pretty uncomfortable soon in the Big 12.
Willie Fritz is a good coach now, and he's shown that, especially this year, building Houston into a Big 12 contender. So, and Houston is a big city, big market. That's I wouldn't be surprised if they are on the come up and they end up being a mainstay in the Big 12 at some point. Did you see, by the way, we got a listener tuning in from Cancun?
Yeah.
Shout out to Albert.
Yeah.
Huge super fan. We love you, Albert.
Love that. Little tailgate on the beach. Okay, so going over these 5-stars, it's really interesting. This is just this year's class, the 2026 class, obviously. Let's see. Ohio State got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 32 5-stars are going to Ohio State. 3 of them are going to Michigan. 1, obviously, headed to the University of Utah. Notre Dame also got 5 of the 5-stars in this class. Alabama looks like they got 2. Conspicuously absent for me here, Georgia only has 1 guy of these 5-stars. Georgia's usually stockpiling these bad boys. Now, if I pulled up the list of 4-stars, they probably have all of them, but Georgia only got 1, an offensive tackle, Ekene Ogboko. Oregon has 2. So, man, the Big Ten Conference and the SEC Conference and Notre Dame just gobbling up all this talent. But somehow Utah got the number 5 guy in the class. And you love to see it. That's your daily dump.
Oh, there's actually a significant NBA story that's come out. Just real quick, I'd want to touch on Giannis preparing for a trade from the Bucks as the deadline nears. Now, that doesn't mean anything necessarily, but it is very interesting because both he and Milwaukee have tried to separate themselves from the rumors from Giannis's camp that he doesn't want to be there anymore. Since when did that first surface?
Like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, but it really started to ramp up. What, September, October?
Yes.
And he's really tried to distance himself from that. So it's interesting to see that that's heating up a little bit more.
I really appreciate this about Giannis because I feel like he's like very insistent on taking the high road here and he doesn't want to be the professional athlete who looks ungrateful and is he
doesn't want to be a villain.
He won a title. He's beloved in Milwaukee, and obviously he's made an incredible amount of money there. And he's like, I mean, to me, it's a win-win relationship what they've gotten from each other in Milwaukee right now, and I think Giannis acknowledges that. Even if the time for that has come to end, I think he doesn't want to sour it, and he doesn't want to make the fan base turn against him, which is cool to see. It seems like, at least for me, he cares about that.
Yeah.
The question is, and you're right, we're seeing that headline that it looks like this Giannis era in Milwaukee might be coming to an end. Who is going to be able to give Milwaukee what they want?
Milwaukee, you want Lowry Markkanen and some draft picks? We can do that here in Salt Lake City.
I mean, and is Giannis going to be like?
It's not happening.
Is Giannis going to be like, if you're trading me to L.A., you're trading me to Miami, you're trading me
contender
to New York.
For sure.
Like, I mean,
if I'm the Bucks,
which contender though has the assets to put together?
Yeah.
In order to make this happen.
If I'm the Knicks, I should say, I just said if I'm the Bucks. If I'm the Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns is disgruntled yet again, and he's also a minus when it comes to playoff performance. I would be like, hey, we'll give you Karl Anthony Towns right now. We don't even have to wait for the deadline. So if I'm the Knicks, I'm doing that. Although I don't know what kind of draft capital they have to couple with that. That they may not have that much left. I don't know, and that might be something that Milwaukee says, yeah, thanks with no thanks. But that's the Knicks seem like a team that could do it, pairing Karl-Anthony Towns with whatever else they could put together.
Golden State
too.
Do you have the draft capital? Get Jonathan Kuminga out of there. He's been griping.
You might say, hey, he's damaged goods for the rest of this season, but we'll give you Jimmy Butler's contract.
I mean, poor Jimmy.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd say that. All right, we got to take a break here. We'll keep you updated on whatever happens with Giannis. We'll also have Gordy Chase on again tomorrow. I know he's going to have thoughts on it, whether we have breaking news before then or not. Jeff Schwartz next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Well, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Jeff Schwartz, college and pro football insider that we lean on every single week here. Jeff, how are you? Welcome.
You would be appalled at my school district.
You got me? Hello, Jeff?
Yes. Hello.
Jeff,
you there?
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Okay, there we go.
That was weird. All right.
I was going to say, you'd be appalled at how my school district is handling a little bit of bad weather, Sean, for those in Salt Lake City. We got sleet, essentially sleet, and freezing rain on Sunday.
Okay.
And no school Monday. Okay. No school Tuesday. No school today. Tomorrow, 2-hour delay.
Wait, are the roads still covered in frozen rain and sleet?
The main roads have been clear since Monday. There are some side roads that have a little bit of, a little bit left on them. Like my driveway in the shaded area, I think it still has a little bit of ice on it.
Okay.
But the 2-hour delay is not going to change that. It's going to be cold the entire 2-hour delay. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's going to be, it's below 32 degrees and all of a sudden it becomes 32 degrees at 7 a.m. and warms the roads up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's maddening. And then on top of that, they're calling for actual snow this weekend for us on Saturday, and some models have up to 10 inches of snow.
Bull. Okay, so if you react this way to sleet.
Oh, buddy, my daughter's never going to school. The public schools never. They will never go back to school if we get a little bit of snow this weekend.
Well, 10 inches of snow is not a little bit of snow. If you get 10 inches of snow.
Our city is. But my son's been at school. The private school has been going to school, so he's been at school. He's not been happy about it. Not been happy.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad that your power and internet is still working at the very least.
Yeah, that never went out, and I have the generator. That at least helps.
Okay.
So I know I'm protected there.
How does your dog react to the bad weather? Because he's for people who don't know, Jeff has this really cool dog, who's a German Shepherd. Who sometimes you hear him barking in the background.
Yeah.
But he's a warm weather dog. He's not like German Shepherds are well equipped to handle it, but he's not used to it, I imagine.
Loves it. Never wants to come inside. I mean, the other night it was legitimately 10 degrees outside, and he was having the time of his life.
All right.
He also he's just smart. It's nice having a dog that's smart. I know you have a smart dog as well.
Well,
maybe not. Okay.
He's lovable at least.
But I as I mentioned, part of our driveway is frozen, right? And the other day he was running down the driveway after a walk, and he kind of slipped. And ever since then, he knows where the ice is, and he just slows himself down and walks over the ice without me telling him anything.
Nice.
It's just nice to have not a stupid dog.
Because a lot of dogs just keep making that mistake over and over again.
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
He does not. So it's nice having.
I know a lot of people who keep making that mistake over and over again after they slip.
I've had to warn Emerson Schwartz many times. Please, no ice, because she broke her finger the other day, and it's hard making her stop moving. So we're trying our best to keep her not active, but it's not working very well.
All right. So Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, and everybody's got an opinion about it. What's Jeff Schwartz's thought?
Coward voters hiding behind the anonymity of not having to put your name out there, right? I mean, look, the worst. Bill Polian coming out and giving one quote saying he voted for him, and then another quote saying, I don't really remember. If you remember who you voted for, probably time to stop voting for the Hall of Fame, right? If you can't remember,
if you're not sure.
The way it works is you get they said for the contributors category, which is what this is, you get to vote for 3 of the 5 contributors. So it's not hard to remember who you voted for. You voted for 3 guys. And obviously, they didn't want to vote for Belichick, maybe. I think that's silly to not vote for him. Maybe you spike it. And then it's interesting because Jimmy Johnson came out today and said, yeah, we did Spygate too. We recorded. Everyone knew that this was happening. and everyone did it. Everyone tried. That's the thing about Spygate. It's silly because everyone was doing it. So it's not anything that it was anything different than any other teams. They got caught. They got in trouble for it. And so now also, are you going to limit Tom Brady's, including, is he going to have to wait 1 year because he was part of that whole thing? It just sounds a bunch of petty sports writers, man, that are in charge of this process. And use their power to try to get one over Bill Belichick. I don't think I've seen sports media, football media, players react and all be in unison. There isn't one former player I've seen on the internet, and these are including people that were rivals of the Patriots, right? That played them every year, that have said this was the right decision, and because it's absolutely not the right decision. And so he'll be next year. I get it, but if it's the status thing, right? It's the status of saying I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's very rare, and in this case it'd be very earned to be first ballot Hall of Famer. And what I think a lot about these situations too, Sean, is the unforced error of the Hall of Fame, right? Because now he'll still get in. He'll get in next year.
Yep.
But now, forever, his name will be synonymous with not getting in the first time.
Correct.
And it just feels like an error that the Hall of Fame doesn't need to make. Why would you make this error? Just put him in, man. And if the process is not good enough to where a guy like that gets in the first ballot, then you have to change the process.
Well, that's something that the College Football Hall of Fame did for Mike Leach. And as much as we all love Mike Leach, I don't think that Mike Leach's reputation is going to be similar when it's all said and done to Bill Belichick. There's no one's arguing that Leach is the best college football coach of all time. There's a lot of people who say that about Bill Belichick, and the College Football Hall of Fame said, "Oh wait, Mike Leach is like one game shy of having the requisite win percentage. Let's change the win percentage."
Yeah. So for those who might not know the Mike Leach story, essentially you have to win at 60% to be a Hall of Fame coach, and he was at 59.8%. So as Sean says, he's like one win away from being, and you can't tell the story obviously of college football without Mike Leach, right? I mean, you just, it'd be impossible. His tree of coaches and his tree of philosophies around around college football, it'd be impossible to do the sport justice. And the same with Bill Belichick. This is why my argument, and Barry Bonds was my favorite player as a kid, so maybe that's a little bit of bias on my end, but when I think of a Hall of Fame now, is actually as a parent, right? As a parent, if I take my kids to a Hall of Fame, to me, I view it as the history of the sport, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if my kids view it as these are the best players of all time, but I view it as a history of the sport. And of course, you can't put in like average Joes in the Hall of Fame, but you can't tell the history of college football without Mike Leach. You can't tell the history of the NFL. And again, Belichick will be in, and Mike Leach will be in, but Barry Bonds is not getting in the Hall of Fame. And like that to me doesn't make sense. It's a museum of the history of the sport. And if you want to put in a plaque and be like Barry Bonds cheated the sport, even though of course they didn't test for steroids, be my guest, you have to put the same plaque for Bud Selig, though, who's a commissioner who oversaw that entire generation of players and somehow still made it in the Hall of Fame before Barry Bonds did, or Roger Clemens. And I think it's a hall of history, right? And so I think that the voters sometimes view it a little more righteous than that, maybe, and it's unfortunate because it's really unforced error, man. This really bad publicity for the Hall of Fame.
The only thing I really dislike about it is the anonymity factor here, because if you can articulate why you made the choice not to put him in, and you can defend your position, and then the Hall of Fame can decide whether you get to keep your vote moving forward or whatever, I'm fully on board with that process. If you're someone who can say, I hate Spygate and cheating so much, I would never put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. I don't want Bill Belichick to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because I know he cheated. I will listen to that argument. I actually like that argument. But the fact that you don't have to make it, and you can, like, if Bill Polian came out and was like, yeah, dude, they cheated, so I don't think he deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I would respect that a heck of a lot more than whatever's going on right now.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Like it's just you're hiding behind it. And look, some voters have said enough have come out and said, "Hey, this is how I voted," right? And it's nice to see. Obviously, baseball is a little more public because most people share their votes. I think you have to, but most at least do on social media, so you get to sort of see the process that they go through, which is pretty interesting to see. But yeah, I think I would love to just see what it looks like and peel that behind the curtain, because again, we know Bill's going to get in, but him not being in the first ballot is just wrong. It just really is.
Jeff Schwartz is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. The NFL coaching carousel is slowing in its spin a little bit, but a lot of names are being announced now. Things are kind of settling down somewhat. Has there been any coaching announcement for, I don't know, head coach or a coordinator position? I'll throw those in there as well, where you look at it and you're like, that doesn't make sense or that stinks. And is there one that you think is best so far?
Well, you know how I feel about hiring from within. I think that the Bills did with Joe Brady doesn't make much sense to me. It's a little different than college and the NFL even because so you fire Sean McDermott, right, because he couldn't win the big one, whatever reason you want to use, and you then just hire from within. So you keep everything the same thing, but you have a new coach who we all agree maximize the talent of the roster. So you're basically pinning all this on McDermott, which it really shouldn't have been because it's not all his fault. And Joe Brady, was he in that much demand that someone else was going to pick him up? I argue no, he wasn't, right? So you hired an OC who wasn't that much demand. For those who are maybe new to this, I just really dislike when players are part of the coaching hiring process. I think it doesn't make any sense. In your business, would the employee hire the boss? No. I don't know why. I get it. I get it's Josh Allen. Oh, my God. But this feels like a Josh Allen hire, right? Like, keep my OC. Okay, but, like, is he the best candidate? It's kind of surprising that the Bills couldn't get the best candidate because it's Josh Allen there. And I just don't want to hire. I think you keep everything the same, but you have a new coach who's unproven. The other guy's good. If you're going to fire McDermott, you better hire someone better. I'm not sure this is a better hire. I have actually found some of the coordinator hires, Sean, to be really fascinating to me. Like the McDaniel hire in Los Angeles is fascinating because I just give Harbaugh so much credit for hiring outside the box, man. These guys could not be two different humans, right? Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel, the former Dolphins head coach. And a lot of coaches just hire like what they know, right? And on top of that, they're different schemes. Harbaugh is a downhill gap scheme, power run, power duo gap runs, big personnel. And that's not what McDaniel's offense has been over the years. It's more of an outside zone. It's more of that that Shanahan McVay type run scheme. So everything, and I love it. I give him so much credit for being an outside the box thinker here. So I love those coordinator moves a lot.
Did you have you taken a look at the list of the greatest college football games of the 2025 season?
Is that on ESPN?
Yeah.
I have not. Why is there? Is Oregon limited? Is Oregon listed on there?
Oregon, number 17 of the 100 best games. Oregon beating Penn State in double overtime.
Okay, all right. That feels like a lifetime ago now.
It was a long time ago. Utah only made one appearance on the list, and it wasn't the Holy War, which was a really good game.
What was it?
It was the comeback against Kansas State when he gave up 1 trillion yards rushing and still found a way to come back and win.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of representation for the Ducks either.
I mean, I don't know why. I just don't know why we would be. I mean, we really didn't play many memorable games. We played. The Texas Tech game's not going to be memorable. Indiana's not. Indiana's memorable for getting your butt kicked. I'm not sure that that much else is going to make it. So that's actually not that surprising. Was number one? What was number one? Was it Indiana Miami?
Yeah, national championship game, yeah. Indiana Miami.
Yeah. Number two is probably a game I can't even recall, but it was probably like really good. It wasn't Indiana Ohio State. That wasn't good enough.
Bill Connolly does this list, and he goes deep dive on like a lot of the games. He never
was it
puts
Brawl the Wild? Did he go like Brawl the Wild Part 2?
Brawl the Wild is in it. It's like a top 10 game. Number 2 was Miami Ole Miss. Number 3, Ole Miss Georgia in the quarterfinals.
So just a playoff list. Okay.
Yeah. Number 4 was A&M beating Notre Dame on September 13th.
That's a long time ago, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then number 5 is the Montana State, Illinois State FCS National Championship. Indiana.
I remember that game, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So, he does a good job. He goes D3 games and everything. He goes all the way down. Utah came in at number 10, 51-47 comeback victory over Kansas State.
Is this best game or most memorable games?
They're the best games, the most competitive, craziest, wildest.
Okay.
They're not like, it's not just the best teams versus the best teams, obviously.
Yeah. the second Brawl of the Wild game was pretty good too. I like putting a little. Did Weber State make it? Was there a Weber State reference?
I have not seen a Weber State game. They did not have a great season. But let me ask you what you feel about this. So Weber State replaced their Mickey Mental, who was what a all-name team. It's fantastic. Their previous head coach. They hired a guy who's considered the best high school coach in the state. The guy who
I love it. I love it.
Okay, from Corner Canyon High School. That's the place where you know Corner Canyon. Jackson Power,
right?
Jackson Powers Johnson was there, and Jackson Dart went there, and the Wilson brothers went there, and all that stuff.
Okay.
So their high school coach is now the Weber State head coach.
Dude, I love outside the box hires when you really have no reason to hire a specific type of coach, right? Like if Weber State off a bad season, I take your word for it, right? Off a bad year, what's the harm in trying to go outside the box, dude? I think this is awesome. Why not do this?
I think it's great too, and we don't see it all that often. Where even a great high school coach, you get painted into these boxes, right? So it's not often that you see a great high school coach get an opportunity to coach college ball. You don't often see great D2 coaches get a chance to move up the ladder and stuff. So I like that's become they're less compartmentalized than they used to be.
I also think this is interesting play for recruits as well, right? Like he's going to know the players in the region, and I imagine he can convince them to come to Weber State. I think this is like a good for recruiting as well, right? Like just, hey man, like come play Weber State. I'm the head coach there now.
Dude,
like,
he was an unbelievable recruiter at Corner Canyon. I'm sure he's going to be just as good at Weber State. Yeah.
Have you been offered a linebacker coaching job yet?
No, much to my chagrin. I'm very upset about it.
Oh, man, I tell you that
I would love to make $32,000 a year to coach 180 hours a week.
I was telling we were talking like a month ago at the house, me and Meredith and her cousin, and we're talking about how much head coaches make, and they're like, "Wait, they make $13 million a year?" I was like, "Yeah, the top dogs, right?" Like, she's a Georgia fan, her cousin. So I was like, "Kirby's making like $13 a year," and Meredith was like, "Why aren't you coaching?" I was like, "Well, the hours stink." I said, "Well, if they pay you that much money, like you can just do it." And I thought, like, how quickly could I get a job if I really wanted a college football job? I think I could get one pretty quickly if I wanted it. I wouldn't make money though for like 5 years, babe. You realize that?
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, having friends in the coaching world, that is awesome, but it's only awesome when you're on the top end, because
correct.
Look, I don't know how you would be able to articulate this better than I, but I had good coaches at Weber State after I left the University of Utah. I like guys who knew the game seemingly just as well. In fact, one of my coaches at Weber State is now the offensive coordinator at the University of Utah. So these guys, it's not like when you go down a level, they know the game significantly less or they're significantly
correct.
Worse or whatever, but they make 1/10 as much money. It's insane.
I know. I was thinking I could maybe call Lanning and be like, "Can I have a job?" But I don't know. But I have other friends where I was like, "Hey man, a QC guy for the year, you just make no money the first year, right? It'd be like a year, a push for later years, which again, it's a hard sell. Look, I think you can, for coaches, if you get in early, if it becomes your career immediately, post college, it makes it a lot easier because that's all you've known. I don't know how, Jordan Gross, I give him credit, man, for going from living on the homestead in Idaho to just becoming a college football coach at a high Power 4 conference school.
He just put up a picture with an offensive line recruit they're talking to out of Servite High School.
Yeah.
The kid is 3 inches taller than Jordan Gross. He's 17
really?
years old. It's like, what the heck are they feeding that boy? My gosh.
I just give him credit for just being okay, all right, I'm civilian life and now I'm gonna coach. It's good for him, man.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's going to be good for the University of Utah. Hopefully it ends up being good for him as well. Are you seeing anything from the Senior Bowl practices that surprises you, that you love, that you hate, whatever?
The thing that's odd this year, it feels like there's just no hype on these games. The East-West Shrine game was yesterday.
Yeah.
The actual game was yesterday. I think it's because college football just ended 8 days ago.
Yeah.
And I can't believe some of these guys are playing. I put out a tweet, the big Miami left tackle who he got trucked yesterday. He had a bad rep yesterday. I was like, why is this guy even at the All-Star game? Like, who told him to be an All-Star? He finished his college season 8 days ago. And the Twitter stuff like, he just wants to compete. Like, that's not like competing. This is dumb. Whoever's in charge of helping him give him advice should be fired. 8 days after. Would you imagine playing a Super Bowl game and then 8 days later playing in a
Pro Bowl?
Not even a Pro Bowl. It's not a Pro Bowl. This is a showcase game, like a showcase, like you have to try out for free agency 8 days after Super Bowl. You'd be like, what? No, I'm not doing that. So a lot of players I think there's 30 guys opted out because of their season just ended in the playoffs. So I haven't seen much yet. I'll watch the one-on-ones. I'll be able to get the tape of it, and it's also just not a great year for offensive defensive linemen. So it's for me just less sort of work I got to do, I think, on some of those guys because they won't be drafted early. So is Fano doing any of these? Is he doing anything?
Logan, the older brother is, but he's at the Senior Bowl practices. But Spencer doesn't have to.
Yeah, I figured he didn't have to. It's the thing too. It's like a lot of the better guys don't have to do it. Now I will tell you, it helps. My brother went to the Senior Bowl, and I think it greatly improved his stock. I mean, if you're a guy like my brother who played in the Pac-10 and probably didn't play the pass rushers outside of USC that he'd seen the NFL, get a chance to really ball out this week. It could do really, really well for you. And so there is a lot of benefit to doing this. It's for some of you guys that just ended, it feels like a pretty tough task.
All right, I know I'm bouncing around a lot here, but I spent a bunch of time today talking about this settlement that Miami and Duke just reached, and I can't find the number anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not out yet.
I don't know what that number looks like, but given the timing of it, that number would have to be astronomically high for it to be anything close to an even outcome for Duke, in my opinion. You look at their depth chart right now, they got a freshman, they got a transfer from Valparaiso, and they don't have any quarterbacks now that Mensa's gone. And let's say that they got, double what they were going to pay Mensa. Still not worth it. I know you can't do much if he doesn't want to play for you, but I don't like the precedent that this sets. I wanted to get your thoughts on just the can of worms. We've already got 15 of them open, but another one, if you're a big money school and you can come in and just pay a penalty to get exactly the guy you want, if it's timed this way, the school that you're stealing the player from doesn't even get to use that money to try and get themselves a player.
Yeah. It's not great, and I don't know what the solution is unless you have these incredibly high buyouts, right? The next buyout is $10 million, $10 million plus paying him. Like, are you really gonna pay that? I mean, this is what I think LSU was with DeMond Williams in Washington, right? The buyout was so large that they didn't want to commit to that, and that's what I think it has to be. Is you have to write these contracts and put those buyouts in at such a high rate that teams are scared of paying that buyout, and that's what it comes down to. I think to make it a lot tougher for these things to happen, because obviously the contracts mean nothing, right? I mean, they obviously mean absolutely nothing because everyone gets out of them if they want to, and so you have to write them stronger. It does feel like we're heading to some sort of CBA. I don't even know. There's a story that Deion Sanders is going to fine his players.
Yeah.
Okay, well, a couple things there. Those have to be collectively bargained. They have collectively bargained. No, right? You can't just fine people without without some sort of written agreement that they'll accept the fine. First of all, right? But just like that idea in general. And then, okay, so let's say we agree that the fines are in the contract, but not everyone on the team is a university employee, right? Only some of those players have NIL deals with the school. So if you have an NIL deal with a third party, Deion can't fine you. Where's the money going for the fine? Is it going to the athletic fund? Like, does Deion keeping the money? Like, who's getting the money? These are all things that lead to the sport being professionalized, which it's close to being. It's not now. People think it's not yet, but it does feel like the only way to fix a lot of these problems is to have a collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, I think that once you get into that realm, defining that. And we talked about that on the show the other day. Like, I mean, even if you can get most of the players at Colorado to decide that they'll like participate, if you're Jordan Seaton or whatever, and that school calls you and is just like, we don't have that here. You don't have to pay fines here. I mean, it just now you've handicapped yourself if you're Dion.
I also found it pretty interesting that he had to put a video, or I was saying he put a video on it, but they share obviously all the content a lot of times, that he had to make a video tell his players not to wear their old team's gear in the facility. What? What? Why would they do that in the first place?
Why would you be like? Why would you be wearing Oregon gear in the Colorado facility?
I thought that was an odd thing to say. I guess enough players are doing it where it's a problem.
That's really funny, actually.
Right? Like, I mean, I wouldn't be me, obviously, but like enough players are doing it where they feel like that's got to be said.
So a lot of young players get tattoos, right? And a lot of them get like team tattoos. Is that going to go away now because guys realize that they might be transferring to a new school next year?
Probably not. Wouldn't just be like, I mean, like Dan Lanning has all those tattoos that just signify where he's been in life.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that you would just like? Okay, I went to
Utah,
I'll get a Utah, and the next school. Like, isn't it just like to signify a time in your life to celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, once you get to like age 35, you'd probably view it that way. If you've got like you've got like the Trojan on your elbow, and then you're playing for UCLA the next year.
That's probably tough.
You might be like, I should have waited to get this.
You have to cover that one up on game day. Do you have a Utah tattoo somewhere?
I do.
Know about?
I do.
Do you really?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Same thing. Like I have in all mine are stained glass windows or whatever. In the one that's on my left side, I have the logos of the 75 different schools I attended. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you put the BYU one on there for business school yet?
I didn't, and I won't. Why'd you bring that up?
I'm just curious.
Although I do love when people have BYU tattoos because it's oxymoronic in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my mom went to UCLA undergrad, USC law school. I mean, you can do it. It's not like it's against the law. But I was just curious if you added that one on.
No, I haven't. There's a Jordan High logo. There's a Weber State logo. There's a Utah U, but there is no Y.
I don't even have enough room on my body to follow the teams I played for in the NFL.
Hey, bud. You got plenty of room on that body.
What would be the worst one to put on? Panthers, Giants, Vikings, Chiefs. What would be the worst one, the worst logo to have on your body?
Giants.
It'd be like an N, just NY, just their logo.
It's just ugly. Everything. I hate the Giants' whole vibe aesthetically. I can't stand. Red, white, blue is usually great. They go with like red, white, blue, and gray. It's weird.
What if I do the old school logo though? It's a pretty cool logo, right?
Yeah. In fact, I kind of want this to happen now.
Well, just like
what team did you spend the least amount of time with?
Lions for training camp.
Okay, you still have to get the Lions logo, and let's do it in reverse order. So the Lions, because that's the coolest logo. The lion is giant, and then it just goes down. It just goes down from there.
Just like what it sounds like, Mormons are not allowed to have a tattoo. I am not allowed to either, culturally. So
I guess
I get out of that one as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, hopefully my kids go to school tomorrow. It hasn't rained and snowed in 4 days.
Well,
so we can go
good luck when the 10-inch snowstorm hits you. Send some of it our way. We've had 10 inches of snow all year long in the top of the mountains.
I know you're on top of the mountain. We understand where you live. Okay.
No, I'm saying
everyone about that. We get it. On top of the hill, like you're very cool. We get it, but it's too much snow for us. I don't want that.
Okay. All right. You just outed me to some of my listeners, by the way. Text just came in from 4909. Oh, he's a closet Coug guy. Listeners are shocked to know he went to BYU.
Wait, you didn't? No one knew this?
Now people know. Like it's not the best kept secret.
We spent a lot of time on the radio talking about this business school you ran.
We had
trip you went on.
Yeah. No, I have my MBA from the Marriott School of Business, which happens to be attached to BYU, people. All right? I got my MBA.
I love this so much for you. I love that I can bring you can come on. I might not be invited on again, but I'm glad this is my last hurrah. So he does not like BYU, okay?
We have
everyone?
we have to keep bringing you on because nobody else, myself included, who talks on this program knows anything about football except you. So
I picked the Rams to win, and the Rams and Broncos, so what do I know?
And thank you, Tyson Howard, one of our other texters, made sure to point out Brigham Young founded the University of Utah. Brigham Young University was not even approved by Brigham Young himself. Okay, people? So we know these are the old staples. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that
either. Brigham Young was a University of Utah guy. Wild.
Interesting.
All right, dude. Thanks for your time. Stay safe in the snow.
Thank you, buddy. Talk to you next week.
Jeff Schwartz, football expert of the highest order. And yes, I am unashamed to say that I continued my education and got a master's in business administration. I'm only slightly ashamed to say that I went to BYU to do it. Huge win for the Utah Mammoth last night in Sunrise, Florida. We'll talk about how they got it done with our Mammoth insider, Adrian Denny, who joins us next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show in hour number 3 here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. We have PBR tickets to give away at the end of the show. Delta Center, February 6th and 7th. And Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, coming to Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on June 3rd this year. We'll give those away at the end of the show today as we do some crosstalk with Spence Checketts. Right now, we're lucky enough to welcome my friend and our Utah Mammoth insider, Adrian Denny, here to our Broadway studios. Adrian, I've been here in the studio and behind our very strange closed windows. I don't see how blustery. Are we actually having a winter day today?
You can feel the low pressure.
Okay.
You can feel it.
You're bundled up for once.
Yeah, I'm freezing. Walking into the building, it's like, gosh, this is winter. It feels like a storm's coming in. So buckle up. I just checked my weather app and it says it is snowing in Salt Lake.
Oh, all right. We need it, I guess.
Sure.
It's good for all of us. Let's talk a little Utah Mammoth hockey. We discussed the last time we spoke the importance of certain games on this road trip. Handle business in Nashville. Wonderful to see. 2-0 loss to Tampa, and then I'll be honest with you, I was like, Florida on a back-to-back on the road, that's a really tough out. But boom, Mammoth victory, baby.
I think we were all feeling the same way going into Florida with the amount of energy and emotion and wear and tear that was sustained in Tampa Bay on Monday in a game where they played really well. Just gave up 2 power play goals. Didn't allow a 5-on-5 goal to the Lightning, who are the second highest scoring team in the NHL and leading the NHL in scoring in January. And then you go to Florida. You're in Florida, but you go to South Florida to take on the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers on a back-to-back, as you said, with some game-time decisions. The Mammoth had 2 extra defensemen taking warm-ups because they weren't sure on a couple of guys, and one of those that we think was a game-time decision was Sean Dursey, who, I don't know if you saw his face last night, but there was, below the eye, above the eye, the poor nose, quite the sight that Sean was last night, and had a kind of a rough first period. Gave the puck away 3 times, and before you knew it, he's the 3rd star of the game, scoring a go-ahead goal, throwing a puck to the net that was deflected home by Mikhail Sergachev from 27 feet away to make it 3-2 in the 3rd period. And isn't that hockey? Player like that, you don't even know if he's going to play, ends up being one of your top stars. But it was another box checked, I think, by the Mammoth in that game, because, as you see teams on back-to-backs, first period is usually okay, but then in the second and third, you can tell, this team is a little low on energy. Decision-making isn't great. Mammoth made some mistakes in the game. Gave the puck away twice to Florida's 4th line, and they scored unassisted goals. But they just never let it get away. They just kind of stayed with it, kept that composure, kept that patience, and found a way to emerge with 2 points. So really nice win. First time they've ever beaten Florida. They played some really good games against them, but I think, in January we've seen just some more steps taken. I think the latest one was taken last night in Sunrise.
Going back to the game against the Lightning, as you mentioned, you give up a couple shorthanded goals.
Power play goals.
Power play goals.
Yeah.
You is the special teams where it needs to be for this Mammoth team right now?
It's been hit and miss. Right? So you give up those 2 power play goals in Tampa Bay. That's the game, 2-0. Last night in Florida, 4 for 4 on the penalty kill, and you scored a shorthanded goal. So your PK does a complete flip of the script. The power play going into Tampa Bay was 2 for the last 3. Had scored 2 huge third-period goals in the last 2 games, one against Philly last Wednesday and one against Nashville, after you had just killed a penalty to make the game 4-2. So it's been up and down. I feel that the shortcomings of the special teams, the power play and the penalty kill, has been more magnified than when special teams actually does something to help them win a game, like it did last night with the penalty kill and the shorthanded goal. But gosh, you know those items help you win games and help other teams win games. So it's big. So now you've gone 2 straight games without a power play goal. You got the PK back on track. So to answer your question, probably just a little more consistency in getting those big power play goals. Because in Tampa Bay on Monday, you entered the game 2 for your last 3. You go 0 for your first 2, and you have 5 shots, some good chances. Power play looked fine until the third period. You're down 1-0, and nothing happened. No shots, couldn't keep the puck in, couldn't get the first unit off to get the second unit on to try something different. Like it was a struggle. So hit and miss is how I describe it. And it's just like, the Mammoth not getting their first ever 6-on-5 goal until last Wednesday. But other teams in the NHL do. And that helps them get points, and they're competing against you because they're getting 6-on-5 goals, and they're getting another power play goal or 2 that you're not. So in the big picture, it hurts you in the standings when you're not measured up average.
I heard Bill Armstrong talking about this the other day about how the 6-on-5, you pull your goalie, and it's for people who've been watching the Mammoth, and a lot of people are newish to hockey, right? And it has looked like kind of a fool's errand. Like, why do you do this? It doesn't make a ton of sense because the results haven't been there. But it's a tried and true method in hockey that, yes, is a desperation move in a lot of cases, but there's reasoning behind it. And it was funny to see how long funny might be the wrong word, but interesting to see how long it took for it to work out, translate to a goal and the victory eventually.
And it wasn't a 6-on-5 goal that you're ever going to see again. It was Clayton Keller ripping the puck away in the defensive zone because Utah could not keep Philadelphia away from their empty net.
Yes.
Schmaltz ripped a puck away. Keller knocked a puck away as Philly's trying to score in an empty net. And Jack McBain was able to block a shot. And then all of a sudden, Clayton Keller rips the puck away, skates down, gets around a Philly defenseman in Travis Sanheim, who's going to the Olympics, walked around him and scored an unassisted 6-on-5 goal. Never seen it before in my life.
Went airborne to do it, to get over the I mean, it was reminiscent of NHL 94. If you remember playing that game on Nintendo or on Sega Genesis, you had to the goaltenders in that game unable to react to you going across the face of the goal. That's exactly what he pulled off. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice. And you pull the goalie to give yourself a power play in the final 2 minutes. It's like, all right, all or nothing here.
Yeah, let's go.
So you're 6-on-5, and you're thinking, all right, we've got the advantage. This is a power play, but hadn't been able to get one, and did get one against Philly in the most unconventional of ways that you'll ever see.
So 4-3 against the Panthers for the first win against the Panthers, like you said. And this is a Panthers team that is back closer to absolute full strength. So is that more meaningful because of who the Panthers had available?
When Utah played them in December, they lost 4-3, giving up the goal in the final minute. They still had their identity. It still looked like the Florida Panthers. They still had that Stanley Cup fabric. Sergei Bobrovsky was still making big saves. Florida got Brad Marchand back over the weekend, got a game-winning goal on their road trip, got Matthew Tkachuk back last week. They'd won 3 in a row going into the game, coming off of a road trip. And as we said, Utah has played them good. A game they lost the final minute, an overtime loss, a game that was 2-1 last year, going down the stretch before the Panthers got a couple empty netters. So they played them good, like a lot of teams. And they just were able to just drag the game out to a point that they were able to manage it. And as we talked about the start of that 7-game homestand, Andre Tourigny was talking about game management. we're doing everything right, but now we need to manage the game and manage situations. And I think Utah did that. I also think Utah got another schedule break, OC, because for Florida, that was kind of a road game because they were on a 3-game trip, came back, played one road game, or played that home game, and now they're back on the road. They left today for St. Louis after they were just on a trip that took them Winnipeg, Minnesota, Chicago, go back to South Florida, play one game, and then go to
Random
St. Louis. So I think they got a scheduling break there because that felt like a road game for the Panthers.
We've talked about Vitek Vanacek in the past about like whether or not he's playing up to the standard that they need to be able to maintain in the rare rest that Veggie gets, and he gave up 3 goals last night, but ultimately it's a win, only his 3rd win of the year in the Mammoth goal. But what do you think of his performance against Florida?
Very solid. Biggest thing in that game, OC, and Vitek has been in some tough situations this year. 8 of his 13 starts have been in some kind of back-to-back for Utah, either the first game or second game. 7 of his 13 starts have come in the second half of a back-to-back. So, we talked about, some mental mistakes. Has Utah been perfect in front of him? No. The biggest thing last night was Vitek being able to get settled in to the game. He's had 3 starts this year where he's given up a goal in the first 3 minutes. You're behind, and then you're playing a completely different style really the rest of the way to try and erase the deficit, and you're in a -1. So he made 2 saves early, and I really felt sorry for him that he gave up that goal with 15 seconds left, because stopping, 25 of 28 doesn't look as good as, or 27 to 30 by the time it's all said and done with, doesn't look as good as stopping 27 out of 29. But let in 3 goals. Mammoth got the win. Everybody was happy for Vitek. It's the first time this year they've gotten him some goal support. First time in 13 starts they've got him 4 goals. It had been 3 or less, and usually 0, 1, or 2 when he's been starting. So the Mammoth were happy. He was happy as he returned to Florida, where he hoisted that Stanley Cup last June and got his first win since October 26th against his former team, and a big win for the Mammoth to take 2 of the first 3.
Now, this is a behind-the-scenes type question, but the NHL has passed off disciplinary duties to the Department of Player Safety. Help me put this in perspective for the new fan. So supplemental discipline for the violation of league rules is now going to be handled by the Department of Player Safety, which has been they've been handling like physical infractions in the past, but is this a significant change?
I think it's just kind of an expansion of their current role, just a little more ownership of it, a little less by committee, just some streamlining for a job that they basically do already, is how I take it.
So if you're wondering how this is different than before, so if you threw in like an illegal check in the past that resulted in an injury, the Department of Player Safety was going to handle the discipline for that, and that makes a lot of sense. All the other league policies, the language, and Jersey got hit with the lip reader thing the other night, the inappropriate gestures, uniform violations, things like that. It was all previously handled by a vice president of the league. It was like a sort of unilateral type conversation thing. And now the player safety committee is going to handle all those. So like you said, bringing more under the umbrella of what they're already doing.
Yeah. And they do have some former players in that department. George Peros, the big guy who played for the Ducks for a number of years, involved in that. And they like to put players in, league positions like that. They like to put players as linesmen, as referees, just for the aspect of those guys have been in locker rooms. Those guys have been on the ice. And I think the NHL has done a good job of getting relatable people into positions, both on the ice and off the ice, to manage things.
Who is, in your mind, the best American-born NHL player ever? I asked this question while I give you time to deliberate because Patrick Kane has tied Mike Modano for the points record by an American-born player. And he's 37, so he's in the twilight of his career and all that stuff. But, both of those names now synonymous with some really good years of American hockey, both in the NHL, obviously, and their representation of Team USA. But, we talk about the greatest to ever play the game, and a lot of times it's stacked up with Canadians for obvious reasons. You talk about some of the great goaltenders, and they're either Canadian or they're Swedish or whatever. Yeah. So who's the best American NHLer?
So you mentioned Mike Modano, Patrick Kane. You got Jeremy Roenick, had over 500 goals. Currently, how about a player like Austin Matthews with Toronto? Ironically enough, a kid that grew up in Arizona and California as one of the faces of hockey in Canada. We got Clayton Keller out of the St. Louis area, going to be representing Team USA, and so happy for Clayton because he's just so proud, and he's been working for that.
That's really cool
for forever. But when you say Austin Matthews, I don't think you're too far off of Clayton Keller looking down the list. So I like Patrick Kane, how he's kind of been able to, have a 2.0 version of his career after those 3 seasons winning Stanley Cups with Chicago, and then they kind of went to the rebuild, and he's gone on to Detroit and been a big part of that team that hasn't made the playoffs in over a decade to now, it looks like they'll be back this year. Not only that, but they've been leading the Atlantic Division for most of the season, and Kane's had a great couple years there in Detroit.
How much longer is this Mammoth team going to have to be without Logan Cooley? Sounds like his recovery is going very well.
You know what? He was on the ice skating in a non-contact jersey at morning skate on Monday.
Wow.
So that keeps us hovering in the neighborhood of what Bill Armstrong has said around the Olympic break, and it sounded lately like right after the Olympic break. How about last night, playing without Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther for just the 3rd time ever?
Wow. And got a win.
And picking up a win.
At Florida.
In Florida, scoring 4 goals.
Pretty awesome.
How about this for the Mammoth OC? Going back to mid-December, they're 7-1 after a loss, and they've scored over 4 goals a game in those contests. We saw a nice response last night, but that's kind of been the body of work that Utah has been laying out here over the last month and a half.
All right, before I let you go, I'm going to let you know something because you mentioned the Olympic break. So when the Olympics are part of the Sean O'Connell show, what we do is we assign particular experts in the sports. Hockey would be too easy for you to be our Olympic hockey correspondent because we're naturally going to make you that.
Sure.
So you have the opportunity to choose another Olympic discipline. You're the first person, so none have been claimed, and you get to be my Olympic expert in curling, ski jumping, whatever it is, so that each time while the Olympics are going on, we have a discussion, you're going to give us an update on that particular sport as well. You can choose now. You can deliberate and text me. You can let us know whenever, but that is a duty that you're going to be assigned whether you like it or not.
I'm going to say alpine skiing.
Okay.
Downhill skiing.
Downhill skiing.
I love to ski.
All right.
I love watching the skiing, but the Nordic skiing, the cross-country skiing.
Are you getting into that?
I love to cross-country ski, too. So if you get somebody that says alpine skiing, and you're like, well, he kind of got a guy, but he also cross country skis, so you can have that. I'll take Nordic.
Okay. All right. Your cross-country skiing updates will be brought to you by does that mean biathlon also?
No, just the skiing, not
Okay.
not the archery and stuff like that. Just
What
you don't
biathlon in the Winter Olympics is cross-country skiing and shooting a rifle, right? Isn't that what it is?
rifle or bow and arrow, something like that.
It's like it's such a weird mix. I mean, I guess it makes sense from like if you live in Finland and you are out in the Lapland area, that's just your life. You just cross-country ski, find a reindeer, shoot it, bring it back. And they turn it into an Olympic sport. It's wild.
Yeah, I'm just a cross country skier through the meadows, through the mountains.
All right.
I don't stop to do archery.
So in addition to your hockey expertise, we will lean on your Nordic skiing expertise.
That sounds great.
Perfect.
That sounds fun.
Our Winter Olympics Nordic skiing correspondent and hockey Utah Mammoth insider Adrian Denny. It has a great ring to it.
Perfect.
All right.
It's OC, as you know, as days go on and years go on professionally, you got to keep evolving.
Absolutely.
Or you're out the door, you're done, and you can't find another gig.
If you're doing the same thing over and over, if you don't expand your horizons to Nordic skiing, I mean, what chance do you have?
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Love it. Thanks for coming in, as always.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
That's Adrian Denny, our Utah Mammoth Insider, brought to you by our friends over at Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer, and America First Credit Union. I referenced this earlier when talking with Jeff Schwartz, the list of the top 100 college football games of the 2025 season. Where do Utah's best games fit into this national list? We'll get to that next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792 on FM. Did you see the list of the best games in college football for 2025? If you haven't, it's available on ESPN.com. And they go through all 100 of Bill Connolly's favorite games that were played this 2025-2026 college football season. Coming in with one appearance on the list is the University of Utah at number 10. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is on there for BYU. The Holy War, interestingly, is not. As great of a game as that was, it did not have the chills and the thrills necessarily that some of these other games did, according to Bill Connolly. But number 10 for him, at least, was Utah's epic comeback against Kansas State. And here's the blurb. There were not massive stakes in this one, but you don't always need stakes to create an incredible spectacle. After trading scores for 25 minutes, these teams released a series of big runs. 10-0 for K-State, then 14-0 for BYU, then 16-0 for K-State. Joe Jackson's 24-yard touchdown with 7 minutes left gave the Wildcats a 47-35 lead. Kansas State went for 2 points and the 14-point lead. But instead came the worst-case scenario. Teo Johnson returned a deflected pass 100 yards for 2 points. Utah drove 75 yards, made it 47-44 with 2:47 left. And after a 3-and-out, Devin Dampier gave the Utes the lead with 56 seconds left. Then Lander Barton interception near midfield finished off a shocking comeback. The number 10 game of the season for Bill Connolly in ESPN's Top 100. It was an unbelievable game. It was as loud as Rice-Eccles Stadium can get, even though a couple thousand people had already left. It was crazy. It was fun. And, yes, you had already found out, it had already been determined that you were not going to receive help with tiebreakers and find an appearance in the conference championship game, but it showed incredible fight and stick-to-itedness from the University of Utah football team, and it was, I think, most people's favorite performance of the year, and a fun one at Rice-Eccles for sure. Wild, wild, wild finish. Good for top 10 on the list. Another interesting and very short list came out yesterday, which, to be honest, we all could have put this together, and maybe some of you already did when we were going over the Big 12 schedule and the fact that Utah and BYU play in Week 10 instead of in a place where I think most of us, or a lot of us, agree the game should be the final game of the season. Stuart Mandel put out the list of all the other games being played in Week 10 that are going to get a little bit of national recognition. So I look at it and I say, all right, these are the other ratings battles that you have to win, right? These are the other games that are going to draw the casual viewer eye. November 7th, 2026, you've got BYU and Utah. Most likely this will be the late game on the slate, so I think you could get a featured time spot where you're not dealing with going head-to-head against any of these other games, because obviously here in the Mountain Time Zone, it could make sense for you to kick these games off a little bit later. November 7th, we'll see weather-wise what that looks like. But on the same day, and again, we all could have compiled this list. Stuart Mandel's the one who did it. Oregon at Ohio State, Miami at Notre Dame, Alabama at LSU, Georgia at Ole Miss, BYU at Utah. So when we talked to Brett Yormark on Media Day and ask him why this game is not put at the end of the year, and he says, well, we wanted the game to be put in a spot where it is the featured game of the day. It is the most talked about game of the day. You also have to follow up, or I guess I also have to follow up and say, do you think it'll be more talked about than Oregon, Ohio State, Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, LSU, and Georgia, Ole Miss?
Yeah, so it was on this week, the first year in the Big 12 as well. 2 years ago, the last time was at Rice-Eccles Stadium. So maybe that's it. Rice-Eccles Stadium, we have it the same week as Alabama, LSU, and it's not right when it's at LaVell Edwards. We have it in October. Whatever. But it was there, and I'm like, Alabama plays LSU that weekend every year. Even if you didn't have Georgia Ole Miss, even if you didn't have Oregon Ohio State, which of course is not a traditional November game anyway, you're still getting like Alabama and LSU are going to get the most primetime spot. They're going to get the most shine on that week. You might as well have it on rivalry week and showcase. Like the other follow up for Brett Yormark would be, so why does the Territorial Cup get the featured thing then?
That's already part of it. But Miami Notre Dame might be of all these, and these are 5 really incredible games, including BYU Utah. But Miami Notre Dame, that's like 2 national championship contenders. Oregon Ohio State, presumably national championship contenders. Alabama LSU, I don't believe in Lane Kiffin, but
no, but that's
huge SEC rivalry, right?
Yeah,
Georgia
rivalry.
Georgia Ole Miss. We'll see.
We'll see what happens with Ole Miss, but that could end up being 2 national title contenders. Who knows?
And I fully acknowledge I'm being a little unfair here because there is the possibility that you try to move this a week ahead, a week later. You're still going to run into great games. College football is supposed to have great games every single week. And you can't thread the needle perfectly. You don't know exactly who's going to emerge. I mean, look, let's say you put it November 14th. Maybe next year Vanderbilt's the best dang team. Maybe there's like a random Vanderbilt-Tennessee matchup that now you have to worry about. I get it. You're never going to be able to land this thing perfectly unless, of course, you put it into traditional rivalry weekend where it belongs, and then there's no room for criticism at all ever. I will acknowledge this because I want to make sure we give a voice to the concerns of our listeners and to the people who actually support our show. A couple of folks, Vegas Ute, DB Ute Pepper, says, what is best for local sports media may not be the best for the 2 teams or the fans. Meaning, for me in sports media, I want that game in the last week of the season, I guess because I'm in sports media. That's not why. It's because I'm a fan of the rivalry. I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of my alma mater. I'm also a fan of the coaching staff down at BYU. I'm a fan of the idea that you could be talking about, like, again, hindsight's always 20/20. If you're looking at it through the 2025 lens, you're playing that game would have been last week of the season a game for the opportunity to go to the Big 12 championship game. It would have been a miniature Big 12 championship game. In-state historic rivalry where the winner goes on to play Texas Tech in the championship. Now, playing it in Week 10, it still worked out that way. But this last year, it would have been like exactly that. That would have been everyone in the building would have known the stakes. There would be no question about it. It would be just like this is the second and third best team in the conference record-wise and tiebreaker-wise. Let's see which one of them it is.
When we got it, love our listeners. We got to stop lumping what the games that national media play with with stuff that we do here in local media. We don't. When you say what's best for media, you're talking with this mindset of like at ESPN they do things on purpose to bring up the Cowboys. They do things on purpose to bring up the Lakers. Like we don't play those games here at ESPN 700.
Guys, if you thought I was bringing things up to maximize my ratings, you haven't looked at my ratings. Okay?
Well,
like this is just it's how I feel and this I responded to a tweet. So I invite people into the conversation the same way they invite. So I'm not mad that anyone feels this way, but the assertion was like, if you play that game in the final game of the final week of the regular season, you really want BYU Utah to be done 6 days before a conference championship game, that huge emotional dump, whatever. And my answer is yes, it is. You know why? Because we lived that way all through the history of this rivalry, or through my history of this rivalry, where more years than not, it was massively important for the conference championship. I get that was before you're playing a conference championship game, but it had ramifications on the conference championship. It had bigger ramifications than that in a couple of very special years, and I love that. And I want the rivalry game to have that importance. I want the rivalry, and I am a firm believer, and I always will be, that if you can't win in less than ideal circumstances, then you just can't win. If you're a conference championship level team, if you're a team like that first Pac-12 championship team, if you're a team like the undefeated Fiesta Bowl and Sugar Bowl teams, obviously, anybody, anytime, anywhere, and when you're trying to and hoping for scheduling to be the reason why you can win or not win, it's a fool's errand, in my opinion. Right now, Utah is heading into a year where I think the schedule is friendly for them to win, friendly for Morgan Scalley to be taking over as head coach for the first time. There's going to be a year, probably soon, maybe 2027, where you get the opposite, right? Where you've got Texas Tech, Arizona State, BYU, and Arizona all in one run in a row after 7 straight games with no bye week, whatever. And in that year, I'm still going to say, if you're a great team, you got to win. Yes, it's a brutal stretch, but if you're a good team, you got to be able to overcome it. I don't want to rely on scheduling to be the reason that you can win a conference championship game. If you're good enough to be in the conference championship game, you're good enough to play BYU and beat them 6 days before that. Like, if you're good enough to beat Texas Tech, you're good enough to beat BYU. And you're good enough to overcome the emotion, and you're good enough to have the leadership necessary to do that, and you're good enough as a coaching staff, if you've done, to say, all right, guys, because this is a short week, we're going to have one hardcore physical practice, all right? We're going to have one bloody Wednesday, but Monday, Tuesday is going to be easy. I guess in that case, it'd be Monday going to be easy, Tuesday is going to be rough, Wednesday is going to be light, Thursday is going to be light, Friday we're going to go win. I will never, ever, ever support the scheduling of, well, what if? One thing we can be guaranteed now that the Big 12 is back, or that the rivalry is back because you're in the Big 12. One thing you can be guaranteed every year is a BYU-Utah game. And that should be played rivalry weekend, regardless of anything else.
Well, I don't understand the point of that, of it being on rivalry weekend not being best for the fans. Like, first off, all due respect, another reminder that the schedulers don't think of the fans when they make the schedule. And
obviously they don't.
Secondly, you want your you want your rivalry game on rivalry weekend. You want it on Thanksgiving weekend. Like, that's when it's, regardless of the history of this particular rivalry, that's when the best rivalries in college football are played. And if the Big 12 wants one of their rivalries to be considered, if they want their conference to be considered to have one of the rivalries that stand up to the best rivalries in the nation, they need to put their best rivalry on rivalry weekend. All due respect to Territorial Cup and Farmageddon, they're nothing close to the Holy War. And this is coming from someone who, yes, is from Utah, does sports radio in Utah, but did not care about this rivalry until I started working for this station.
Yeah.
And I still recognize that it's one of the best rivalries in college football. Like, I have an internal/external perspective on this, and the Big 12 needs to, and Brett Yormark need to understand what they have here.
Losing Red River and losing Bedlam, Holy War is definitively the most passionate and best rivalry in the Big 12.
And it's weird. Like, you've had 2 classic Holy War games in a row now, and one of them this year that, like you've been saying, effectively decided one of the conference championship matchups, or half of the conference championship matchup, and they still don't understand what they have. Maybe after next year they will. We'll see.
All right. Got to take a break. We'll come back with a little crosstalk. We'll give away Pit Bowl tickets June 3rd, and PBR coming to the Delta Center on February 6th and 7th. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right. Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull's coming on June 3rd. We got 2 tickets for you. We also have PBR tickets December 6th and 7th. This is the Sean O'Connell Show wrapping up, and all you have to do is answer for me. Where was Spencer Fano ranked among the 5-star athletes in Rivals' final rankings of their top recruits in the country? Not did I say Spencer Fano? My gosh, I'm screwing up my own question. Kelvin Obot, the 5-star at Utah, is the what ranked overall player in this class of 26? Spence just let my dog out of the studio. He's going to destroy the entire office. That was a bad idea. 877-353-0700. Oh, my goodness. Final segment of the show and crosstalk if we ever get to do it now that Spence is chasing my dog and his dog.
Yeah, Rocky's all riled up because he's playing with Duke.
Because he's playing with Duke.
So,
So
yeah.
Spence just opened the door.
I may have to
and
go
let
help.
them run.
I may have to go help Spence.
Spence is going to finish talking, and I'm going to go get the dogs. All right?
Here, then come back. I'll take over from here. All right. The issue, James, is my dog's okay out because my dog is a normal-sized dog. So we let Duke wander around.
Right, at the office, everyone in the office knows Duke is very friendly, very well behaved, and he just roams free.
Yeah, I was unaware that Sean's dog is not allowed out of the studio.
Sean keeps him on a little bit tighter leash. I think part of the training he's doing, certainly, but also I think because he knows how gigantic he is, and he doesn't want anything to get destroyed.
Well, the funniest part is when Duke comes into the studio and he sees Sean's dog, he gets very excited. And then within like 10 seconds realizes that he is in a lot of trouble and like has to like bail because Duke is like half the size. What's Sean's dog's name again?
It's Rocky.
Rocky.
And Rocky is a Mastiff.
Yes.
He likes to hide under the desk, so he hasn't made that many appearances on YouTube, but he has made a couple. For the listeners that tune into YouTube, you've seen him a couple of times. But if you haven't seen him, just picture it's the same breed as the Beast from Sandlot.
Yeah.
And he looks about as big as Hercules from Sandlot.
And Duke is an English cream, and he's like 40, 50 pounds. Here we go. Sean is back. My bad. Lesson learned.
Dogs are back.
Okay,
Corral.
we're good. Where did he go?
So the dogs, thankfully, this is a dog-friendly office, and the dogs both were found being treated to chicken jerky in the corner office. So they're fine. Wow. Well done. All right. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Guess what? Advanced Window Products actually has doggy doors, since we're talking about the chaos of 2 dogs in the studio. Doggy doors that they can put into your sliding glass windows. They are absolutely fantastic.
More corralling happening of
just
the 2
absolute chaos.
puppies. I'll let the dog owners do their thing, and
Hey, look,
if I need to fill in for a few seconds at a time, I got you.
Rocky is now underneath the broadcast desk.
And Duke is out of the studio, so we're good.
Duly chastised. Duke is effectively an employee here. He's used to it. He comes in, and he just makes his rounds. And that, my friends, was radio gold.
That was hilarious is what that was.
Wow.
Can you turn my headset up on your little board over there, Sean? There we go. Hey, look at us. Crosstalk.
Wow. Look at that.
Does anyone have any idea what's going on if they just tuned into the show? Anyway, we're good. Crosstalk. Hey, man, how are you?
All right. Hey, how are you?
Heard you talking about the rivalry game. I'm with you. The more implications, the better, I say. You know, I'd like it at the end of the year. I always have. And with the way this conference is shaking up outside of Tech, BYU and Utah are going to have something to say about it as long as they're in the same conference. Yeah. So put it at the end of the year with more implications.
And if you think about it, so we think Arizona and Arizona State probably will factor in a little bit to that discussion.
Sure, yeah.
Right? One of those 2 teams, potentially. Guess when they're playing their territorial cup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the right place to put. we don't have to overthink this. We don't have to be like, well, you schedule us so we have a better chance of winning the conference championship game if we make it to the conference championship game.
Yeah.
No, you schedule what you schedule, and if your team is good enough, they play and they win. And you don't actually get hurt more in the BYU game than you do any other games either.
Right,
Is there an emotional dump? Sure. But I don't know. If anyone has an advantage, I guess it would be Texas Tech because no one cares about them and they don't have a real rival.
Right, exactly. And I mean, look, you tell me from a player standpoint, is the narrative of the emotional letdown something that is more media driven and more fan base driven? I feel like the emotional letdown is like from the community where everybody's like
and by the
tired
way,
after the game is over.
Yeah, if there's an emotional letdown for you as a fan because you're just like, well, I just played a rivalry game and won it.
Right.
Now it's hard for me to get up for a conference championship game.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, yeah. But
I mean, these are, by the way, these are paid professionals now that are expected to be doing this. So I'm not worried about that at all, not even a teeny bit.
I've always just wondered from and look, Witt himself, when I had him on, I know we're still in the Sean. Oh, wait, it's 2:00. We can say his name.
You're good. You can say the name.
You know, when I had him on this year during rivalry week, you know, as I was introducing him, I said, man, this is just such a fun, exciting week. And he stopped me and said, did you say fun and exciting? And I said, well, what's your adjective, Kyle? You tell me. And he's like, intense. Well, and that's who Witt is. So, you know, Witt himself admitted that the toll of the week, the emotion of the week is a little bit different. But if you can't get yourself up for potentially a conference championship game the next week, you're in the wrong profession.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. And I know that, like, again, there's practicality to all these things. Well, if you're the Big 12 and you're worried about that, then don't have your conference championship game on Friday.
Yeah.
Make it a regular week. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do. But putting the Holy War in the same week that coincidentally this year is now Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, Ole Miss, Oregon, Ohio State is not going to do the Holy War any favors. If you're fine with that and if you as a conference are like, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't care about that game. You're wrong for feeling that way, but put at the end of the year, no, I will stop complaining. It's a hard thing to get me to stop complaining. I will stop complaining if you just put it at the end of the year.
The lesson I've learned today is now I know what strikes fear in Sean O'Connell. The look on your face as I open the door for Rocky. I go to Sean. I go, is this okay? And he just goes.
I said no.
Shakes his head with his eyes just wide open.
He's a sweet, sweet boy.
Yeah.
But he is 135 pounds, and he's still a puppy.
Yeah.
And this is a dog-friendly office. Most people here, but I don't know that everyone who works here wants to be barreled over by in this case, 2 dogs.
Right, and that was my fear when I first started bringing. But Duke is a 60-pound English cream, sweet, gentle boy. But you never know who's allergic, and if you're going to get an email from HR like, hey, we have somebody in our office that is allergic to scents.
Yeah.
About every 6 months, we get a like, hey, who's wearing cologne email? I'm like, it's definitely Sean. So I have zero clue if there's anybody in the office who's allergic to dogs. So the first year I would keep Duke in here and then eventually started letting him roam.
Which is what I'm trying to do. First year, he's not even a year old.
But Rocky is a different breed than Duke, so we'll ease him into it.
He's a good boy.
He's a great boy.
If you watch The Sandlot, he looks a lot like that.
Yeah.
Not quite as big and slobbery yet.
And he's he's sweet. You know, he just is big as all.
Actually, I was told because I was apologizing to the corner office profusely because that's where they ended up.
Yep.
And I'm so sorry. He's still a puppy. And I was informed that he was the better behaved of the 2 dogs when he went into the corner office.
Duke is like a homeless dog that hasn't had a meal. He's only motivated by food. Like every time I think like he loves me as his owner, I realize he would leave me for a piece of cheese. Duke is very, very highly motivated by food. Yeah. So I'm not too surprised. The corner office has the best snacks, by the way.
Yeah, they had it looked like organic chicken jerky.
Yeah, they have snacks that occasionally I've been like, maybe I'll try one of those while we're here.
I don't know that Rocky's motivated by anything. He's laying down. His eyes are closed. He's not impressed anymore.
He's a good boy.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. 801-850-9100 for your window needs from Advanced Window Products. We'll do it again tomorrow on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.